I'd like to call to order the Utility Special District meeting, Wednesday, June 23rd, 2021, 5:35 p.m. Madam, roll call.
Chairperson Shirley Lanier. Vice Chairperson Kashamba Miller Anderson.
Present.
Board Member Trodrick McCoy. Board Member Julia Botel.
Here.
Board Member Douglas Lawson.
Here.
Ex officio Board Member Mayor Ronnie Felder. City Manager Jonathan Evans.
Present.
Acting Executive Director Deirdre Jacobs.
Here.
District Clerk Claudine Anthony is present. District Attorney Don Nguyen.
Here.
District Finance Director Randy Sherman. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, we'll have a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilwoman Botel. Any person who would like to speak on an agenda item, please complete a green public comment card located at the front desk and give it to the staff prior to the item being taken up by the Board of Directors for discussion. Members of the public will be given a total of 3 minutes to speak on all items listed on the consent agenda and 3 minutes to speak on each regular agenda item. The time limit for public comment may be reduced by a vote of the Board of Directors based on the voluminous nature of public comment cards. In no event will anyone be allowed to submit a comment card to speak on an agenda item after the resolution is read or item considered. We have a motion. Do we have any additions, deletions, or substitutions?
None, Madam Chair.
Any disclosures by the Board of Directors?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I thought we were deleting. Did we delete that already?
Oh, this is for the USD.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Disclosures by Board of Directors?
None.
None, Madam Chair.
I have a motion to adopt the agenda.
Move to adopt the agenda.
Second.
Madam, roll call.
Board Member Lawson.
Yes.
Board Member Botel.
Yes.
Chair Miller Anderson.
Yes. Could you know how you used to say with 3?
Okay, Madam Chair, that's now the responsibility of the chairperson according to the parliamentary procedure training that was done.
Okay, well, I'm not doing it at the moment, so if you could please do that for me as we did before, and then we'll get
That
back on
motion was
track.
approved.
Thank you. All right. There's a lot of extra stuff on here, so I'm sorry, I'm just trying to read through it. Consent agenda. All matters listed under this item are considered to be routine, and action will be taken by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Do we have anyone that would like to pull an item?
No.
Can we have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
Move to accept the consent agenda.
Second.
Madam, roll call.
Board Member Botel.
Yes.
Board Member Lawson.
Yes.
Chair Miller Anderson.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Regular agenda item number 4.
A resolution of the Board of Directors of the City of Riviera Beach Utility Special District, Palm Beach County, Florida, awarding bid number 1026212 to B&B Underground Construction, Inc. to replace a water main along Lake Drive from Bamboo Road to Inlet Way and along Inlet Way from Lake Drive to South Ocean Avenue in the amount of $1,425,036.40. Authorizing the Utility Special District Chairperson and District Clerk to execute this agreement, authorizing the Finance Director to transfer $756,727 from project number 18160 to project number 18153, authorizing the City Manager to approve change orders up to 10%, and authorizing the Finance Director to make payment from project number 18153 in an amount not to exceed $1,567,540.04 and providing an effective date. Madam Chair, members of the board, there are no public comment cards on this item. The acceptance of public comment cards on this item is now closed.
Move to award bid number 1026-21-2.
Second.
All right, Mr. Evans or Ms. Jacobs?
Madam Chair, if I could have the interim executive director, Ms. Deirdre Jacobs, make this presentation.
Sure. Thank you, Ms. Evans. Good evening, Co-Chairperson Miller Anderson, other council persons in your respective places, City Manager Evans, City Attorney Nguyen. For the record, my name is Deirdre Jacobs, and I'm the Acting Director of the Utility Special District. This particular item deals with the Town of Palm Beach Shores water main installation project. If you would remember, like over the last few months, we had inquiries that came over, not from the town of Palm Beach Shores, as well as our councilperson, Botel, making mention of this particular project. At this time, the Utility Special District staff, in particular, City Engineer John Armstrong, has come to a point wherein a bid was actually put out, and the company B&B Underground Construction was selected to participate in the construction activities to begin the installation project. Is primarily a result of infrastructure improvement projects that are already taking place over at the town of Palm Beach Shores. So it was ideal at this particular time that we go ahead and install the new water main infrastructure. In the event that you have any particular questions, our city engineer, Mr. Armstrong, is here to answer.
All right, do
Madam
we have
Chair?
any questions?
Yes,
Go ahead.
thank you. I don't have a question about this particular item. I support this item. But at some point in the future, I would like to have a presentation about the age of all of the water mains in the city and some kind of a timeline about when we intend to replace them going forward. I just want to know where we stand, particularly, I guess, on the island from my perspective, with the age of the infrastructure. And it doesn't have to be tonight, just at some point, maybe the next meeting.
So, Mrs. Miller Anderson, I have a response
Go ahead.
to Dr. Bertel's question. Mr. Armstrong is here this evening, and in preparations for some of the questions that we realize that might come to us, he's prepared to address that question. So I can't tell you how much detail he has available for you, but in the event if it's not sufficient, we can bring you back the information at a later date.
Thank you.
So it was our intent to do that after we went through these agenda items.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Anyone else? All right, Madam Clerk?
Board Member Botel,
Yes.
Board Member Lawson,
Yes.
Chair Miller Anderson.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Item number 5.
A resolution of the Board of Directors of the City of Riviera Beach, Utility Special District, Palm Beach County, Florida, approving the proposal from Chin Moore and Associates, Inc., to perform engineering inspection services associated with the construction by a contractor to replace a water main along Lake Drive from Bamboo Road to Inlet Way and along Inlet Way from Lake Drive to South Ocean Avenue in the amount of $61,540, authorizing the Finance Director to transfer $61,540 from project number 18160 to project number 18153, and authorizing the Utility District Finance Director to make subsequent payments after work authorizations have been issued, and the total amount not to exceed $61,540 from account project number 18153, and providing an effective date. Madam Chair, members of the board, there are no public comment cards on this item. The acceptance of public comment cards on this item is now closed.
I move to approve the proposal from Chen Moore and Associates.
Second.
Mr. Evans? Ms. Jacobs?
Madam Chair, if I can have Ms. Jacobs make this presentation.
Again, thank you, Mr. Evans. And for the record, my name is Deirdre Jacobs again, and I'm the Acting Director of the Utility Special District. This is a companion item to Resolution 2021, and it's simply asking the board if you would consider engineering inspection services for that particular installation of the water main over in the town of Palm Beach Shores.
All right, any questions or comments from the board?
No.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk.
Board Member Lawson,
Yes.
Board Member Botel,
Yes.
Chair Miller Anderson.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Item number 6.
A resolution of the Board of Directors of the City of Riviera Beach Utility Special District, Palm Beach County, Florida, ratifying the ongoing contract with the Hinterland Group to construct improvements to 16 lift stations in the amount of $1,700,000, authorizing the Finance Director to bring forward and transfer $1,700,000 from project number 18133 to project number 18135, authorizing the city manager to approve work authorizations up to $1,700,000, and authorizing the finance director to make payment from project number 18135 in an amount not to exceed $1,700,000, and providing an effective date. Madam Chair, members of the board, we do not have public comment cards on this item. The acceptance of public comment cards on this item is now closed.
I move to ratify the ongoing contract with the Hinterland Group.
Second.
Mr. Evans?
Madam Chair, members of the board, if I can have the interim executive director, Ms. Deirdre Jacobs, make this presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. Again, for the record, I'm Deirdre Jacobs, the acting director of the Utility Special District. This particular resolution 22-21 is asking your consideration and approval to allow for the Hinterland Group to perform lift station improvements to 16 of our lift stations. I'm not really sure if you're familiar with the many conditions and issues that we have at our lift stations over at the utility district, but in the last couple of weeks, we really understood the urgency of it. We speak to our staff on a regular basis who are intimately involved in those particular work activities wherein they have to actually enter the lift stations. It's our understanding that there are safety and health issues that are pending and on the rise. So if we beg your approval to go ahead and allow us to conduct the necessary rehab activities so that we can begin the process of making the lift station safe for our employees and our city in general.
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. I wholeheartedly support this motion to ratify this contract. I've seen some of the conditions of the lift stations, not recently, but within the last couple of years, and I know that some of them are in dire need. The one that I'm concerned about is Lift Station 10 on the island. We have had an ongoing problem with that lift station and the smell associated with it. There have been a number of remedies going back to the previous director of the utility district, and they never seem to get corrected. And I'm wondering, number one, if something can be done about the odor, and number two, we were promised that there would be some beautification around that lift station. Is there some thought to having that happen in the near future?
Yes, ma'am. We've, in anticipation of the inquiries dealing with Lift Station 10, staff has worked over the last few days with installing landscaping materials. Our Parks and Recreation Director, Mr. Blankenship, is here this evening. I would just ask if Mr. Blankenship, if you could come forward and let the board know and the public know of the improvements that we've made just in the last couple of days.
Wonderful.
And then also, there's some ascent that usually comes from the one off of 20th and H Avenue as well. Would that help with that improvement? The improvement help with that as well?
Yes, along with the landscaping activities that were done over at Lift Station 10 just recently, in the research of not only the landscaping, but the odor issues with Lift Station 10, and I believe that one is 1A. And then there was another one, Lift Station number 12. There was an engineering company, I believe it was EAC, that actually went out and conducted an odor test, an assessment of what was going on. From my understanding, by this Friday, we should have a report from them, a complete report that tells us of the findings that were realized as a result of their testing. It's my understanding. I talked to the engineer on the way over to the meeting tonight. There are a couple of vendors that they're going to present to us, wherein we could work with those vendors to go ahead and install odor control measures in those 3 lift stations in particular.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Blankenship?
Good evening, everyone. Richard Blankenship, Parks and Recreation Director. A couple of months ago, we planted shrubbery around the lift station itself. It's a beautification effort. Yesterday, we planted some native grasses behind the guardrail to kind of beautify and clean up that area. And then shortly, we'll be planting another row of something along the sidewalk just to give it more of a a park-like feeling than a lift station feeling.
Thank you. Great.
What about the building over the utility district building? Well, I guess that lift station building, that has a lot of, I guess it's mold or something on the outside, the actual building that they go to when they're working with the utility district equipment over there?
Is it the lift station on Avenue H, the building itself?
Yeah.
So that was brought to our attention as well, excuse me, with regards to, from my understanding, it's something that's on the side of the building. So as a part of the lift station improvement project, we'll be addressing aesthetic issues as well.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Madam
Any
Chair?
other questions?
Madam Chair?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Ms. Jacobs, one of the concerns that a few residents have addressed is just the money that we're spending for repairs. In the agenda review, I was actually updated in regards to the repairs that we're going to be doing for the lift stations, and they're going to be interchangeable, still be able to be utilized with the new water plant. So can you just kind of give some update to let them know that with this new update and with these renovations we're doing to these lift stations, that it still will be used for the water plant we're going to install?
Yeah, actually, all of the improvements that are being done to the lift stations, they deal with the sewer collection systems, the lift stations do. So just simply put, even if we weren't getting a new water plant, it would be enhancements to our existing system. So in concert with the new water plant that we'll be getting, these could be just simply considered updated activities, infrastructure improvements.
And we won't need to change out or bring in new lift stations once the water plant comes in, correct?
Not to my understanding.
Okay, it was just a concern that residents had. I spoke with Mr. Evans about that, but I just want to make sure that they were clear in understanding that these dollars that are being expended are going to be necessary regardless.
Yeah, they deal with the collection system
Perfect.
as opposed to the distribution system.
Excellent. Thank you, Ms. Jacobs.
All right, any other questions or comments?
No.
All right, Madam Clerk?
Board Member Lawson,
Yes.
Board Member Botel,
Yes.
Chair Miller Anderson.
Yes.
Motion approved.
That's the end of the regular agenda. Public comments. Please be reminded the Board of Directors has adopted rules of decorum, public conduct during official meetings, which has been posted at the front desk. In an effort to preserve order, if any of the rules are not adhered to, the Board of Directors Chair may have disruptive speaker or attendees removed from the podium, from the meeting, and/or building if necessary. Please govern yourselves accordingly. Public comments shall begin at 6:15 unless there is no further business of the city by the Board of Directors, which in the event, it shall begin sooner. In addition, if an item is being considered at 6:15, then comments from the public shall begin immediately after the item has been concluded. Any person who would like to speak during public comments, please fill out a public comment card located at the front desk and give it to the staff before the public comment section is announced. Madam Clerk?
Madam Chair, members of the board, we do not have any public comment cards.
All
The
right,
acceptance of public comment cards is now closed.
thank you. Discussion by Executive Director of the Utility Special District or the City Manager.
None from me, Madam Chair.
Okay, comments by District Attorney.
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
Statements by the District Board, Mr. Lawson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Evans or Ms. Jacobs, what is the date that we're looking for to have responses for the RFP that was put out for the new water plant?
July the 20th.
July 20th?
Yes, sir.
And then we're looking to have that on possibly the August or September's meeting.
I'm sorry, what was your question?
When will we be looking to have those selections or those responses on the meeting?
August.
By August's meeting?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you, Ms. Jacobs. Thank you for the work you've been doing as well.
Ms. Jacobs, did Mr. Armstrong want to make that presentation? But we could wait until the next time, unless it's very short. Is it a brief? Because our council meeting starts in 7 minutes.
Okay, so, Madam Chair, could I make a comment? So, Dr. Botel, no, we want, Mr. Armstrong is prepared to answer questions, and he's worked really hard on these items, so it would be fitting and proper, especially the lift station item, to answer your questions that you have. And with regards to your question, Mr. Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
it's my understanding, in speaking with our consultant on yesterday, that we'll work as a team internally to bring before you, I think it was the second meeting in August. I think the date was around the 16th, to bring the presentations before you so that you could make your selections.
Okay. I'm sorry, August 17th?
I think it was I think it was the second meeting in August. I don't have it in front of me,
No worries.
okay?
Just wanted to give the public an idea of the rate that we're going for trying to get this water plant up and running, the work that you guys are doing, the amazing work, and how we're going to be bringing this to the board for approval in the next few months. So thank you.
Yeah, I believe it was the second meeting in August, and then by the second meeting in September, we wanted to have a contract in place.
Beautiful. Thank you.
So if it's okay, Madam Chair, Mr. Armstrong is here to answer any questions and to make a short presentation about the Palm Beach Shores
Okay.
water main project.
You can go ahead. I didn't see him or didn't realize he was going to do one, but go ahead. You're free to go.
Thank you. Well, I don't really want to make a presentation on Palm Beach Shores, if that's okay, since you already approved it. I don't want you to change your mind.
This is I'm sorry, Madam Chair. This is exactly what I was interested in. I want to know the age of the distribution system, and particularly on the island. At what point does the infrastructure on the island get replaced?
Okay.
Just from, I mean, I'm not only concerned about the island, but that's the question that came up
Okay.
at my last town hall.
In the Palm Beach Shores water main project, in your packet was the location of that, and this was the third slide of that for the Palm Beach Shores project, to justify why, one of the reasons why we were going to do the Palm Beach Shores water main project. This map shows water mains based on age, pipe age, and the water treatment plant was built in the 1950s, and so the water mains, for the most part, that were constructed in the 1950s are in red or pinkish red there, like a Palm Beach Shores and the eastern city of Vero Beach. The water mains that were constructed in the 1960s, between 1961 and 1970s, are shown in green. So Singer Island, basically, for the most part, the water mains were constructed in the 1960s. And it depended on pipe age, the type of pipe. The typical pipe age is around 70 years. So based on that, the water main should be replaced in about, let's see, in 1930, in
Madam Chair?
2030.
I'm sorry, Mr. Armstrong, could you just say again where in the backup this is, because I'm having trouble finding it?
Okay,
I'm looking
on the
at-
Palm Beach Shores water main project, the
Hold,
last,
Mr. Armstrong, do we have this presentation? Or no?
Are you just saying we have this particular slide?
Madam Chair, if I may add, I don't know if you have this particular slide. We have provided this slide before in
I know.
previous items, but we can make sure that the board gets this in an email.
Are you looking for an answer to a question?
Yeah, I thought that Mr. Armstrong said that this slide was in the backup for the bamboo.
it was in the, for the Palm Beach Shores water main project under the beam, the
Is
award of the
that, is
contract
it
to
item
B&B.
4? Is it item 4 or item 5? Do you know? Was it under the Chenmore?
I mean,
The one before that for B&B
4.
contractors to award the contract to B&B Construction.
So there are 8 backup. There's a memo, resolution.
Dr. Botel, what are you trying to find out, though? I mean, you can't see it?
See it. I can't see it. Can you see that?
Yeah, I mean,
You're good. You got good eyes then.
I mean,
I-
see it right, can you see it
Oh,
better
now
there?
I can see it.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
That's better. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay,
Thank you. Now I couldn't see the colors. Now I can see the colors. Thank
Yeah.
you.
all right, go ahead, thank you.
And so that's the last slide. You see, so the water mains that are the oldest were installed when the water plant was installed in the 1950s, and that's the red or pinkish color there.
Okay.
So that's basically town of Palm Beach Shores and eastern part of the city,
Okay.
excluding Singer Island. So those, just based on pipe age, those are the ones we want to replace first. And I asked Mr. Bailey if he could, when he does the CDBG projects, to try and select them based on those areas from a water and sewer perspective. I mean, there's other, I mean, all the CDBG projects that are projected in the future, except for one, are in that area. And so the next ones, next oldest are shown in green, that were installed in between 1960 and 1970, and that includes Singer Island for the most part. Some water mains, you know, have been replaced, but so those would be like in 1930 to 1940, those should be replaced. However, one of the things is when we place them, a lot of times they tear up the streets, they interfere with, you know, create traffic. So we try and get them done the same time that the street improvements are done, because if we just go in and replace the pipe, we're tearing up the streets, and we got to pay for this, repair the streets, versus if we're going to, and then you're going to have to basically do a whole lane. So it's more cost effective to do it at the same time that the streets are done. So,
Madam Chair, I just have a question. I'm sorry. So when the streets were done in some of the neighborhoods on the island, were the water mains replaced at that time? Because many of the streets were recently done.
yes, ma'am.
So they were. Oh, good.
At Yacht Harbor Manor, there's like 5 streets there that it was completed in 2019.
And new water mains were put in.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good.
And the gravity sewer, the pipes were lined.
Oh, good. Okay.
So
Thank you.
I know there's north of that and in Palm Beach Isles, there was 2 bridges that were done. So the water main and the sewer main that crossed there were replaced.
Okay, good.
There's a 3rd bridge in Palm Beach Isles, and that's planned to replace a water main and a force main there.
Good.
And then there was also Palm Beach Isles a few years ago, Public Works retained an engineering firm to replace the streets, upgrade the streets, and replace the water and sewer lines, replace the water and line the sewer lines, replace the force mains crossing the bridges. But
Okay.
that is not on the CDBG, so one of their projects at this point.
Okay. Thank you very much. You've answered my question. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments, or want to hear from the presentation? Let the record reflect Chairperson Lanier on the dais. All right. Did you have your comments, Ms. Potel?
Yeah, I'm done.
You're done? Okay. Chairperson, we were at the end. We're doing comments, so if you have any comments. Otherwise, we'll probably go ahead and adjourn. All right. We'll adjourn this meeting at this time.
What time are we going to start the
Good afternoon. We will call the regular city council meeting for June 23rd, 2021. We will start with the roll call.
Mayor Ronnie Felder,
Here.
Chairperson Shirley Lanier,
Here.
Chair Pro Tem Kashamba Miller Anderson,
Present.
Councilperson Troderick McCoy, Councilperson Douglas Lawson,
Here.
Councilperson Julia Botel,
Here.
City Manager Jonathan Evans,
Present.
City Clerk Claudine Anthony is present, City Attorney Don Nguyen.
Here.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, we will follow with the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilman Lawson. Are there any additions, deletions, or substitutions for this agenda?
Madam Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
I wanted to add an addition. I emailed it out, or had staff email it out today. It's a community benefits request for a youth rec. We've given to that organization before. It's a request for an application of $500.
Okay, very good. Madam Clerk, could you add that item?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
is it Youth Recreation Association or Youth Rec?
I'm sorry, Youth Recreation Association. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, did he say how much?
$500. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Mr. Lawson, the application that was submitted by your legislative assistant indicated $1,000, so reducing it to $500?
I think the approved amount on page 2 was $500. The request was $1,000, but the approved amount was $500.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Are there any other additions, deletions, or substitutions? Manager, Mayor?
Madam Chair, there are some that the clerk will read into the record.
Very good. Madam Clerk?
Madam Chair, members of the board, in addition to the community benefit that was added to the agenda, which is item number 4A, item number 10 and item number 16 has been removed from the agenda and will be on the July 7th, 2021 regular city council meeting agenda.
Very good. Are there any disclosures by council? Mayor?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I just wanted to disclose that I will have to be leaving the meeting early tonight due to a prior obligation. And being that I won't be here for comments, I wanted to acknowledge the family of the Akins and Gordon family. We lost a young man from our community, far too young, and I just wanted to give them my condolences. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Councilperson Botel,
Yes.
Councilperson Lawson,
Yes.
Pro Tem Miller Anderson,
Yes.
Chair Lanier.
Yes.
Motion approved.
We are at our consent agenda. All matters listed under this item are considered to be routine, and action will be taken by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council person so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Anyone wants to pull an item from the consent agenda?
No.
Can
Move to adopt the consent.
I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Second.
Clerk?
Councilperson Lawson,
Yes.
Councilperson Botel,
Yes.
Pro Tem Miller Anderson,
Yes.
Chair Lanier.
Yes. We're at the end of our consent agenda. We are at awards and presentations. Madam Clerk?
Item number 5, presentation on the Riviera Beach Event Center LLC from Jolinda Herring. Madam Chair, members of the board, we do not have any public comments on this item. The acceptance of public comments on this item is now closed.
Mr. Evans?
Madam Chair and members of the board, this item before you this evening is a presentation concerning the new market tax credit unwinding options. The reason that this item is being presented to the City Council is that invariably the decision that the board, or the direction that the board will provide, staff will have some impact, whether it's on the city and the CRA side. At this particular moment, we have joining us virtually Mr. Bob Reed and Ms. Jolinda Harrington from Bryant Miller and Olive, and they'll be making the presentation.
Good evening. This is Jolinda Herring with Bryant Miller Olive, and we are here to present on the new markets tax credit transaction. Just for introduction, the original new markets tax credit transaction closed on July 8th, 2014. And so new markets tax credit is really just a source of refinancing for communities in distressed and urban areas. And investors generally receive a credit against their federal income taxes for making the investment. For the investor, it's a 7-year credit period. And so we are now at that 7th year, and it is at this point that we look to unwind the transaction. I'd like to introduce to you my partner, Bob Reed, who you have seen before, to talk about the financing structure and some of the options for the unwind on the new markets tax credit transaction.
All right. Good evening, everyone. We prepared this presentation to help expedite and facilitate a conversation sort of about what do we do now. The best to sort of start with going back 7 years ago to how the presentation was, or how the financing structure was put together and what was the intent of it. Let's go to slide 2. Okay. If you remember, the city leased the land underneath where the event center was built to the Riviera Beach Event Center LLC. Now, this is a single member limited liability company that whose member is the Riviera Beach Community Development Entity, CDE, which is an exempt organization, which means the Riviera Beach Event Center LLC is also treated as an exempt organization as part of the CDE. Now, the Riviera Beach CRA funded, they were going to pay for the project. They didn't have enough money on hand, so they wanted to use new market tax credits. So they funded what money they had through a recoverable grant to the CDE, and to enable the CDE to act as a lender to funnel that money into the new market tax credit structure, so that they would be able to use that then to leverage their monies to build the event center. And also sort of places the CDE at sort of the linchpin of how this financing is unwound at the end of the 7-year compliance period. The CDE used that money and funded a loan to the investment fund in the new market tax credit structure. It's $4,761,400. And the CRA entered into a master lease agreement with the Event Center LLC in order to basically provide the financial strength to Event Center LLC so that they could participate in the event in the new market tax credit structure. So it's kind of a circle there among these three entities. So the Riviera Beach CRA was paying a sizable rent payment and taking on obligations to make monthly lease payments to the Event Center LLC so that they would have the financial ability to repay the new market tax credit loan. Next slide. Now, what happened or is going to happen to unwind the new market tax credit financing? The investment fund has, to which the CDE loaned the 4 million and change, has the right to exercise a put option that basically tells the CDE as their lender that, you know, thanks for your loan, I appreciate it. I don't feel like paying you back. Instead of that, I'm going to give you my ownership interest in the investment fund. And once that occurs, the transfer of the ownership interest, that triggers a redemption of the investment fund's interest in the CDE, which doesn't have, you know, 7 million plus cash on hand. So it distributes to the CDE the notes and loan agreement and mortgage, leasehold mortgage, that it has that represent the loan of the new market tax credit financing proceeds to Riviera Beach Event Center. And once that happens, all of the non-Riviera Beach players in the new market tax credit financing are out of the picture. They're gone. So we just have the event center as the lessee from the city owing the CDE a bunch of money, the CDE under recoverable grant owing a bunch of money to the CRA, and the CRA being the master tenant and obligation to pay a bunch of rent and operating expenses and everything. Next slide. Now, what we have here is of course, the city continues to own the land under the event center. The event center owes, as I said, the CDE $6,790,000 in mortgage loans. The CDE owes the CRA a recoverable grant. The CRA is master tenant and owes sizable lease payments to the event center, LLC. Next slide. So, with this now in this position, or will be in a month or so, we've, you know, the questions that need to be addressed is, you know, which entity, we have the Riviera Beach Event Center, the Riviera Beach CDE, the Riviera Beach CRA, and the city of Riviera Beach. Which one is going to be in the best position to undertake the long-term operations, marketing, maintenance of the event center as a facility? Is that going to be the city, the CRA, the event center LLC, the CDE, or a third party? Now, is there any reason to transfer the ownership of the underlying property to another party? Again, the city owns it. Is there any reason that the city would need to or want to transfer that ownership to someone else, like the CRA, for example? Does it make sense to transfer the ground lease from Riviera Beach Event Center to the CRA, regardless of who ultimately manages the event center, or simply leave it as it is in current leases in place, or cancel the lease and put the city back in direct operating control? Next slide. We have, as we talked about, a bunch of circular debt going on. What do we do with the debt? And again, the event center owes $6,790,000 to the CDE now, which represents the result of cancellation of the $4,761,400 leverage loan that they made to the investment fund. The CDE owes a recoverable grant in the amount of $4,761,400 to the CRA. The assignment of the mortgage loans to the CDE, or rather, there can be an assignment of the mortgage loans by the CDE to the CRA, for example, and by way of repaying that recoverable grant. The CRA could then cancel, satisfy whatever, all of those mortgage loans, or the CDE could cancel those mortgage loans, and thus eliminate all of the current debt on the event center property. And ultimately, that's going to be one of the things that's going to happen. Next slide. Answers to these questions can result in providing a direction for the city, the CRA, and the CDE to move in. Once a decision is made as to the long-term responsibility for the event center, the corresponding transactions between the three parties or four parties can be structured. Unless there is a need to preserve some or all of the current debt, all of the debt can be extinguished. The recoverable grant was a mechanism to infuse CRA equity into the new market tax credit financing. So an elimination of the related new market tax credit debt, in essence, places the parties back in their original position that they spent their equity to build the event center, and the balance of the money derived from the new market tax credit financing essentially converts into equity. Oops. Next slide. Option 1, possible direction. CRA retains management. To achieve this option, you would take the following steps. The CDE transfers and assigns the mortgage notes to the CRA in satisfaction of the recoverable grant. The CRA and the Event Center LLC agree to terminate the master lease in exchange for an assignment of the ground lease and cancellation of the mortgage debt to the CRA. The city and the CRA amend the ground lease, do a new ground lease to reflect the new terms, if any changes are needed going forward. Next slide. Option 2 is the city takes over management. Again, the city is the underlying owner of the land. So in this situation, the CDE again assigns the mortgage notes to the CRA in satisfaction of the recoverable grant. The CRA and the Event Center agree to terminate the master lease in exchange for canceling the notes. Again, remember the CRA has substantial obligations under the master lease. Then the Event Center LLC and the city agree to terminate the ground lease. This results in the city back as the owner, having full control over the event center, and the other parties are out of the picture. Next slide. Option 3, possible direction. RBCDE, the CDE takes over management. In this scenario, the CDE and the Event Center agree that the Event Center transfers its ground lease to the CDE in exchange for the cancellation of the $6,790,000 mortgage notes. The CDE and the CRA agree to cancel the recoverable grant in exchange for termination of the master tenant lease, which relieves the CRA from all those obligations. then the city and the CDE enter into an amendment or restated ground lease to reflect whatever terms the CDE and the city want on a going forward basis. Next slide. Effective options on the city, CRA, and CDE. Ongoing expenditures. Now, and within this, there's not only operating, there's marketing, there's maintenance, and I believe there's still some build out that's required for the event center. So, you know, those are the long-term obligations that we're talking about. Now, under option 2 or option 3, the CRA is removed of all ongoing obligations under the scenario. And either, as the case may be, the CDE or the city assumes all of those obligations. Under option 1, the CRA retains that full responsibility and obligations for these ongoing expenses of the event center, relieving the city and the CDE of those obligations. Now, if somewhat depending on how the city acquired the underlying land, if the city acquired the land with proceeds of tax-exempt bonds that are still outstanding, the city or whoever ultimately winds up being there could have a third party do the management, but it would be restricted to what's called a qualified management agreement. If the land was either not purchased with tax-exempt bond proceeds, or those bonds are no longer outstanding, then the party, whoever winds up being the ultimate responsible party, city, CRA, CDE, they would be able to enter into whatever kind of agreement, if they wanted to, with a third party for the ongoing operations, maintenance, expenses, build out, whatever, of the event center. Will that open it to any questions?
Madam Chair.
Yes, you recognize.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Reed. I really appreciate your expertise in these areas. I only have one suggestion, and that is you got to hire somebody to do your slides because I can't see the white on the pale, and I bet people watching at home have a hard time.
I make no pretense of
black
being,
text next time would be good.
Graphic artist, and
I have a question.
I apologize for that. I was actually having some trouble.
I have a question. Maybe it's for Mr. Evans. What is the date of what's the end date for the CRA?
I believe it is 19 years remaining for the CRA to sunset.
Okay, so if we went with option 1, where the CRA retained management, then after 19 years, we'd have to do something different anyway, right?
Conceivably, yes.
Madam Chair?
Yes, you recognize.
I guess this question would be more so for Mr. Evans. Has the event space been profitable since CRA has taken over management over the last years of operating?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
No, it has not. It actually has been a losing proposition, and that is actually going to be some of the things that we talk about as part of our budget sessions, and some ideas and solutions that we have to make it more profitable and try to get it to where it's at least a break-even proposition. But no, it is not generating revenue.
Okay, and then follow up. If third party was an option of management of the event space, they would still be obligated to the 50-year land lease, correct? Mr. Evans?
I'm sorry, Councilman, if you could repeat the question.
What? No, go ahead. I didn't hear you.
No problem. If a third party was one of the options as management, they would be under the 50-year land lease that would be required. That would be the max for the terms that they could operate with a third party?
I don't know if it incorporates this particular parcel. Scott Evans is on the line. He may be able to provide some additional insight in regards to that. but also in phase 2 of the marina development, it is contemplated that there is a possibility to discuss the feasibility of a private vendor operating the operations here. Mr. Evans, are you there?
Madam Chair.
Yes, the city of Riviera Beach owns the land, so any restrictions that go out with any ownership of the city would apply to any agreement that they could make.
Madam Chair, members of the board.
Yes, go ahead.
I don't believe it was recognized that Mr. McCoy is now sitting on the dais. So let us recognize that he's now sitting on the dais.
All right, very good. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Scott Evans.
Yes, I guess you might be having some trouble with my audio, but
No, we're not going to be able to hear that.
owns the land.
Madam Chair, I think.
Yeah, there's some problems with your audio.
So any restrictions for any
Mr. Scott Evans.
agreements would
Mr. Evans, Scott Evans, Mr. Scott Evans.
The city owns the
Mr.
land.
Scott Evans.
Earth to Scott.
Mr. Scott Evans, we cannot hear you. The audio is not functioning properly for us to understand what you're saying. We're going to let Mr. Evans at least try and answer that question. We just cannot understand what you're saying on the phone.
Madam Chair, I believe what Mr. Evans was stating, that since the property is owned by the city of Riviera Beach, whatever stipulations run with the property, I'm not 100% sure if the charter provision that prohibits any lease longer than 50 years actually is on this particular property, but I can find that information out and provide that to the board prior to your next discussion on this topic.
And that, I think, would assist with making a decision how we move forward and progress. Because a third-party vendor, being that the CRA hasn't been fiscally sound with management of this event space, possibly looking at a third-party vendor, but then also making sure that it is exclusive rights and first right of refusal for city usage. So there's a lot of discussions that we have to go into, but with the new markets tax credits, I believe Mr. Reed, just for layman's terms and understanding, essentially with the new markets tax credit, we saved about $2 million utilizing those tax credits based on the numbers that you provided?
In round numbers, yes.
Okay. So, Mr. Evans, how do we take advantage of these moving forward? Because these tax credits seem to have saved the city $2 million, and it looks like it's a program that we need to implement to most of the development that we're doing.
So I just received confirmation from Mr. Evans that the 50-year provision actually does run with this particular property.
Gotcha.
And the question with regards to the new market tax credit program and the CDE, was that the question, or how this?
Yes, sir.
How this venue? Well, related to this, there is some opportunities to continue to utilize this vehicle for other opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
This particular component was actually discussed as another tool in the proverbial toolbox to assist with the phase 2. So it's not something that's outside of the ordinary, that this can be another vehicle that the city can utilize, or the CRA could utilize to obtain new market tax credit for subsequent projects.
Excellent. So based upon the options, I know tonight's just discussion items, and I'm sure you just want some direction. I think third-party management may be the best if we can negotiate a good deal, but a better deal than we've done in the past with other projects. I've seen that we haven't done a good job with negotiating certain deals prior to this administration and staff. I want to make sure that we get the best deal possible with the third party, leaving management with the CRA, leaving ownership with the CRA, but actually allowing for management from a third-party vendor. Because if we're going to bring in a developer to develop this municipal marina phase 2 project, then we want to make sure that it's managed properly and also financially sound for the city. Thank you, sir.
Yes, very good. Any other questions?
Madam Chair.
Yes, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Evans, would you know exactly, or Mr. Reed, exactly what those significant or substantial obligations by the CRA are that prevents it from being profitable?
Well, One of the challenges we have is that the facility is not charging what market rate would be for the facility. In addition to, we've even had the conversation, as much as we love to host our meetings here, city council meetings or CRA meetings or events here, there is a lost revenue opportunity to the tune of approximately $100,000 over the last year in regards to all the meetings that we've had in these spaces. So as part of the budget process, we're looking at how the city can conceivably transfer monies to the CRA for the purposes of activities and events that the city has in this meeting space. So we have looked at some cost as it relates to operational expenditures, and now we're at the point where there has to be some additional capital investments in the facility. But we do want to have a robust conversation with the board as part of the budget process to show you the financials and then look at some opportunities to generate additional revenue and attempt to make it somewhat more profitable. These banquet facilities are definitely hard to manage and generate as much revenue as possible when you don't have that critical mass of a hotel on the campus or restaurants or a lot of other activities to utilize the space. We think with subsequent redevelopment and development opportunities, I think you will find the space more profitable, and especially when we build out some of the other areas on the property.
Follow up.
Yes, go ahead.
So, I certainly would like us to consider not just the fact of paying the CRA for the use of this facility, but, I brought this up before, the common area of maintenance, which is still technically the grounds, and Bicentennial has been covered by the CRA. And if I'm not mistaken, I know when we were having our board meetings over in the council chambers, the CRA actually they paid to use our facilities when we had meetings inside of the municipal complex. Isn't that correct?
I cannot speak to that. I could definitely ask Mr. Sherman if he can provide some information as it relates to it, but I'm not aware of that specifically, but we can get that answer.
Mr. Evans, I would appreciate that follow-up, Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
So, I guess it would seem that the purchaser of the tax credits that have now, I guess they run off at some point this year because it started in 2014. What is the exact date that those tax credits burn off? Mr. Reed, if you're there.
It's the end of July. I'm trying to remember the exact date. It was like July 28th or something.
Fair.
Linda, do you have that date? You're on mute.
It's July 14th.
14th, okay.
So even from the purchaser of the tax credits, how much of an infusion was that when they purchased for the, I guess, the financial institution that acquired the tax credits?
This is Scott Evans. Can you hear me?
Yes.
The CRA gained just a little under $2 million from participating in the new market tax credit structure.
And that was from what bank or what financial institution?
The CRA borrowed some dollars from BB&T, but the financial institution that did the new market tax credit transaction was KeyBank.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, very good. Are there any other questions in regards to this item? Okay, I wanted just to say that I wanted before we come back to this issue in the future, I wanted to make sure that there's a presentation about what the CDE is in relation to the city, who's on the board, how it's ran, how it was started, to get all of that information about what this actual entity is before we come back to have this discussion. And I also like the option of the clear-cut approach of having the city to manage it, which is they are in the best position to manage it. And also the MTC is too far outside of any consideration at this point, given that we don't have a master development agreement. So with that being said, and there's no other questions, we can move to
What's
the next.
MTC?
The MTC, that's what's listed here.
I'm not sure what are you referring to. MTC?
That's what's listed here, the new market tax credit.
Okay,
NM
NMTC. Okay.
Yes, NMTC. Very good. Let's move.
Wait, I'm sorry. Where's that listed? 'Cause I thought we were in a cycle for new market tax credits right now.
We don't have a master development agreement.
Right, but I guess, help me out. You're referring to NMTC. Where's that located? Because we're in a cycle where
We're in a cycle of new market tax credits, and I'm saying that we don't have a master development agreement, which means that's far off, given the fact that we don't have a master agreement for the marina. So we're talking about new market tax credits. We don't even have an agreement yet.
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, and I'm aware of that, but precisely that's what I thought the function of the CDE was to be able to, the CDE is the community development entity that has the ability to seek out new market tax credits. So I guess I'm missing something. That's exactly how the new markets tax credits got funded for this building, and we're currently in a cycle. So why wouldn't the CDE have that ability to seek out those tax credits again?
No, I'm not saying that they don't have the ability to seek out. I'm saying that the city, the CRA does not have a master development agreement in place. And I understand that we are looking at the new market tax credits, but we couldn't apply our receipt funding until 2023 anyway.
Madam Chair, you're basing that on what exactly? Because if
I'm basing it on what's listed at the U.S. Department of Treasury for new market tax credits.
No, there's a current round of new market tax credits that's done.
There is no project. We have no project.
But Madam Chair, okay.
All right, very
There is
good.
an application that we talked about.
No, you can go ahead and finish your statement, and we're going to move to the next item.
So
Go ahead.
I got a head nod from Mr. Evans. Am I missing something here? Because I thought we were in a cycle currently with 9% and 4%, and then there was also an opportunity for the county to contribute somewhere like $700,000 or $800,000 towards the acquisition or the acquirement of tax credits. Is that not correct, Mr.
My understanding is that you have to have a project in place. There is no project in place.
Right, but
I'm not understanding.
I want to ask the question because that's not my understanding, and if I'm wrong, I want to find out exactly how this works, because I know we've literally had this discussion before.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
In regards to the New Markets Tax Credits Program, pursuant to the conversation that we did have with the board about Marina Phase 2, that the CDE could be a vehicle that is utilized for new market tax credits. There is contemplation as part of the program that they would get tax credits through the state, either a 4% or 9% allocation. So that is something that is being explored. It hasn't been something that an application has been submitted, and we just received the notification from the state that the application for this particular year, it doesn't look like the developer would be able to meet the deadlines, and we would be able to help facilitate meeting the deadlines for this particular cycle. So if there is a cycle that we participate, it's most likely going to be next year.
Exactly. All right, very good, thank you. Can we move to the next item, please, Madam Clerk?
Item number 6, Tourism Master Plan, Riviera Beach Event Center, LLC. Madam Chair, members of the board, we do not have public comment on this item. The acceptance of public comment on this item is now closed.
Mr. Evans?
Madam Chair and members of the board, I'd like to turn this presentation over to Councilperson Votel to introduce the speaker and the intent of the presentation.
Thank you. I'm happy to introduce Mr. Don Kolotz, who's been working diligently with us and with a very large group of volunteers on our tourism master plan. And it's been great to work with Don, and I look forward to working with him in the future on the implementation of this plan. Mr. Kolotz.
Great, thank you. So
So the agenda for my presentation is to talk about who is Tourism Strategic Solutions, talk about the master plan rationale, why are we doing it, what the methodology was that we used to develop the plan, what the composition of the task force was, the recommendations at a high level, and next steps, and then field any questions that anyone might have. So who we are, I was with a company called Discover the Palm Beaches, who is the official marketing organization for tourism for Palm Beach County. Due to the pandemic, I retired in May. I was contacted by a number of cities to provide consulting services, one of which was Riviera Beach. So I created an LLC to help them. My career spans 40 years of tourism, including hotels, car rental, luxury ground transportation. I created the statement of work for Palm Beach County, which for their tourism master plan, which they're going to put out to an RFP in 2022. I've also developed tourism master plans for the city of Boynton Beach, and I'm in the process of developing one with Lake Worth Beach. Because of my network, I've got a large number of contacts within the county, which I've leveraged, as you'll see, to create the task force. So why are we even creating a tourism master plan? Well, number one, it aligns with your strategic vision that the city has for 2030. It creates kind of a roadmap for the future. I kind of refer to each of the cities that I work with as it's a disparate model. Riviera Beach is a diamond in the rough. You've got more assets than any other city, I feel, in the county. I got here a little early, went over the bridge, looked at the new Emirate that's about to open in fourth quarter of this year, looked at some of the new murals that are coming up. You've got the yachts, you've got the marina. So you've got all these different assets, and what we need to do is integrate them into an overall strategy, which is a tourism master plan. It drives economic development. For every tourist that comes to your city, it drives $900 of economic value. For every 100 tourists that come to the destination, it creates one job. So based upon my conversations with city staff, it's about creating economic value and, as important, is jobs for the people that live within the city. Also has a rippling effect of increasing the quality of life for the residents. So anything we do from a product development standpoint is going to have a positive effect on residents year-round. It supports community development, as witnessed by the second phase of this, as you talk about a shortfall of $100,000 in funding for this asset you've got right here. 15 to 25% of all visitation into Palm Beach County is related to business and meetings. So I see this, once we have a hotel, and even in the interim, to drive additional business meetings to this destination and leverage the marina as something that would be a post-event that you could do to drive occupancy for this facility and hopefully make a profit versus running a negative NOP. And it also creates competitive differentiation. You've got 39 cities in the county. You're the third city to engage in this tourism master plan. So you're ahead of the rest of the 36 other cities. So that's kind of the foundation that we've built in terms of why we're doing this plan. So the methodology that we use, we have a 12-step process. I'm going to dwell on each one at a high level. The first one is to assemble a task force. So we had over 40 individuals. There's 43 people sitting in this room right now as we speak. So if you think of it, everybody in this room could become a subject matter expert on tourism. So we pulled this network of people together that are stakeholders within the community. And here's kind of a sampling of some of the people. You can see from the city of Riviera Beach, we had a lot of the key stakeholders. Tourism Development Council. This is an organization that is driven by a bed tax. So if you would stay at the Breakers for $100 a night, which would never happen, when you would check out, your bill would be $106. So they charge a 6% bed tax. That 6% bed tax drives around $58 million in revenues. Around 33% of that goes to capital costs such as the ballpark of the Palm Beaches and the convention center, et cetera. The other 2/3 go to marketing the destination. So we, because of the relationship I have with the TDC, we pulled in those subject matter experts, and you've got the TDC, and underneath that, you've got 4 different agencies. You've got the Palm Beaches, Discover the Palm Beaches, you've got the Sports Commission, you've got Culture, and you've got the Film and TV. So they wake up every morning saying, how do we drive tourism into Palm Beach County? We leveraged other Palm Beach County assets, Parks and Recs. We brought in the hospitality segment, Roger, who's at the Marriott, George at the Hilton. We also leveraged the director of sales and marketing from the Emirate. We brought in Robert Kushner, who produces over a dozen different tourism-related publications for tourism assets within the county. And then we also leveraged the organization called CareerSource. And CareerSource is the largest placement company in Palm Beach County. In 2019, they placed over 33,000 people. So around 3,000 people a month they're placing in jobs, to the point where they volunteer to open up a shop, a dorefront, if you will, here in Riviera Beach to help the residents find jobs. I think very important, we also reached out through Julie's connections to Palm Beach State College. And we had a class actually engage in the project. And they went out and identified best practices. I went through TripAdvisor and identified 71 different organizations that are linked to tourism here in Riviera Beach. They came up with another 50. So we identified 121 different companies in Riviera Beach that are focused on tourism. So they added a lot of value, didn't cost us anything, and it was kind of giving back to the community. We also went out to activities, tours, visitor centers. We engaged residents. We looked at the different businesses. We had the CEO of the Palm Beach North Chamber join us, the BDB. Again, what we tried to do is create a cross-functional team with different expertise that could kind of look at Riviera Beach under a microscope and focus on tourism. Food and beverage, FRLA, commercial lodging, Chip, who was the principal at Key. And then we also did marine and cruise lines. So again, we had over 40 people that participated in the task force. So the first thing we did with the task force was we asked them to do a SWOT analysis. And you all are aware of the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So I just want to share with you some of the feedback that we received from the task force. So the number one strength that they feel is the beach. And based upon consumer research, the number one motivator for someone coming to Palm Beach County and Riviera Beach is water. Water sells. So you've got the beach, you've got the marina, you've got the intercoastal, and you can see that 45% of the strengths that you bring to the party all have to do with water. So then we went on and said, well, what are our weaknesses? Well, the number one thing that popped up on the screen is crime and safety. So we had the head of the police department participate so he could give us an update on the full court press that he and his team is doing to reduce crime. The next is marketing the destination. It's an awareness issue. Before, as I was walking into the building this evening, there was a police officer, and I stopped and talked to him, and I told him what I was doing, and I says, well, what do you think the number one challenge is for this destination as it relates to tourism? And he says, nobody knows all the assets that we have. So it just kind of reinforced the second weakness is that you don't have brand awareness of the destination because it's a disparate business model because everybody's kind of doing their own thing and we don't have alignment in terms of a overall strategy, and that's what the tourism master plan brings to the party. Opportunities, we need a destination marketing plan, and that's probably one of the first things that we will focus on, and that's a detailed plan that identifies the various strategies, groups and meetings, leisure, time of year, where we want to use social media, et cetera, et cetera. And then activities. Peanut Island, you've got a huge asset, even though it's county-owned at this point, that is bringing tourism in. So it's really just a simple branding issue in my mind, where we need to deploy PR and social media to get the word out about all these different things that you can do at the destination. In terms of threats, once again, crime comes to the forefront. If you Google Riviera Beach, one of the things that comes up is the high crime rate. We can't allow the crime to continue, in my view, because the worst thing that can happen is we increase the tourism here, and then all of a sudden it kind of is a boomerang effect and has a negative impact on the destination. So we'll be working in parallel to fix that problem along with city staff. You've got other destinations that are also trying to recover from the pandemic and using tourism as a key strategy to do that. So what are the top 10 recommendations that came out of this process? We had over 53 recommendations, and we had the task force rank them through a survey that the IT department at Riviera Beach produced for us. So I'd like to share those with you. In first place, and the first place was a tie of 3, was, we need to promote the water-related assets. 45%, again, of everything that the task force recognized as a strength was related to water. Number 2 was we need to promote this marina, the boat ramps, Phil Foster Park, Singer Island beaches, and Peanut Island. Your beach here in Riviera Beach is the widest beach in the whole county. So what does that mean? Well, that's great for sporting events, horse polo on the sand, different sporting venues. So we'll partner with the sports department underneath the TDC, again, to put together a detailed plan on how we're going to drive visitation using your beaches. The last is crime challenge. So again, the task force ranked the 53 recommendations, and they identified crime within the top 3, which I know that Jonathan and his team are focused on. The next is we need a destination marketing plan. Again, each of the TDC agencies have a detailed marketing plan. I talked to Glenn Jurgensen, who's the executive director, who's putting together their 2022 marketing plan. So the timing for our engagement with them is optimal, because what we want to do is we want to leverage, they've got a staff of over 100 resources. We want to leverage what they're doing. We don't want to recreate the wheel. They've got a lot of business intelligence. We want to leverage that data. Number 3 is we want to update the 2030 strategic plan to make sure that we integrate tourism, and that we, from a budgeting standpoint, we put placeholders out there for additional investment as we develop the destination marketing plan. Number 4, we're sitting on a gold mine. As I walked around here today, I wasn't even aware that you've got some type of event center next to this place. I've been here several times, but didn't realize that there's a lot of space for holding special events here. So with the hotel and restaurants and retail, as Jonathan mentioned, that's all going to create traffic. And what we want to do is we want to get people to stay in the destination, because if they stay here, there's a tendency to spend more. The 5th is we want to establish an annual budget. We want to find out, and this is kind of like a dimmer switch, because we're going to install a dashboard to measure the tourism impact to support the ROI for additional investment in terms of funding. Number 6 is we want to look at job descriptions. I've got a 4S model I use: staffing, structure, systems, and strategy. So 2 of those 4 S's has to do with staffing and structure. So they're working with Elizabeth McBride, who's the deputy city manager. She's identified 2 job descriptions, and really I think there's 3, because you've got an open position and a director of economic development, where we want to incorporate something to do with tourism. Because the worst thing that can happen is we've got this blueprint for success and that we can't implement because we don't have the right head count. Number 7 is engage a consultant. I'm working with the city. I've been told that I'm going to lead that process. So I'm not only playing the architect for this strategy, but now I'm going to play the general contractor to help build this thing out to ensure success. Number 8 is a tourism committee. We created that task force of 40-plus people. Now we're going to create a tourism committee comprised of some of the TDC assets, but more importantly, some of the local stakeholders to ensure that whatever we're doing is in complement to what they're doing on a local level. And again, we're creating momentum. I use the analogy of that we're in a submarine right now. We're all going in the same direction, but we're really not talking to one another. And my vision is to create an aircraft carrier where we're running sorties together. Everybody knows what everyone else is doing. And right now, we're kind of doing it a little bit in a vacuum, so this tourism committee will address that communication issue. Number 9 is to create a calendar of special events. As I walked in, I saw a big bulletin board where it's got all the special events. Well, how do we start to ramp that up to make sure that we maybe do bird watching or kite flying contest, or there's things that we can do to drag people up from Boca, Delray, down from Jupiter to experience all of the assets that you've got. And you've got dolphin tours, you've got kayaking, you've got jet ski rentals, you've got deep sea fishing, you've got the 6th best place for snorkeling in the entire United States. All these are well-kept secrets. Our job is to go out and make sure, really, the world knows about Riviera Beach. And last is, as I mentioned, you've got the largest beach, so we're going to partner with the sports department to look at what the sand-related sporting events could be for the future and start that programming. So the ranking of all recommendations, again, here they are from 1 to 10, and then once we get through those, we'll start nailing the next phase, if you will. And again, I kind of use the 80-20 rule that 20% of our activity will drive 80% of the output. So these are all important strategies that we want to focus on, but out of the gate, we're going to focus on the top 10 based upon the direction of the task force. And here's the rest. So next steps, finalize the plan based upon any city council feedback, distribute the completed plan to the task force, and then, finalize the agreement between my LLC and the city. So I'll pause there to field any questions on anything that I've gone over or anything I haven't gone over that you might have questions about.
Are there any questions from the board?
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
No, I don't have any questions, but I did want to say thank you to Dr. Botel as well as yourself for the information. It's some of it, I'm sure we all kind of knew it, but to see it in print really put an exclamation point on it. So I look forward to hearing more from the group and then seeing how this could be integrated during our budget.
Thank you. Great. Thank you. Anyone else?
What is this? What is the city's comp plan now as it relates to tourism?
What is the city's comp plan?
We one of the things we want to try to do is infuse tourism into our 2030 vision. Right now, when we created that vision, we really didn't have tourism at front of mind. And when I think about the fact that, and I know that Don uses 100 tourists to create a job, but I've heard Glenn Jorgensen use 89 tourists, which is even better. So we know that tourism will really drive economic recovery for us, and I think it's something that we have to include in our 2030 vision, and Jonathan agrees, I'm sure. And if he didn't before, he does now.
My evaluation is still outstanding, so I would have to say I agree.
Yeah, I thought I recognized that from that Vision 2030 that we did way back with the strategic planning that we did. I thought it sounded familiar to me.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think one of the most important things to me is that we, and Liz McBride worked on this with us because she was part of the team, we identify existing jobs in the city who wake up in the morning and part of the thing that drives their day is that they're thinking about tourism. And we have staff positions already who could take on that role. And as Don mentioned, we have an economic development manager, if you will, in the budget already. And that person certainly, I think, would take on the role of championing tourism.
Yeah, and I put it up, and that was our #1 goal, was tourism in Vision 2030.
Yeah, tourism is the second largest driver of the economy in Palm Beach County. Number one is agriculture. Number two is tourism. There's around 5% of the population of Palm Beach County that are directly linked to tourism, around 70,000 people. So again, going back to my 4S model, it's critical that we find people who will either own tourism full-time or at least part-time as we develop the plan, because we need execution. And with social media, I've been sending Julie, my different Facebook and TikTok updates where I see Atlanta, the mayor of Atlanta is posting 4 reasons why you should come to that destination. So there are things that we can do that are fairly quick and fairly cost-effective. So once again, thank you, and invite your friends and family to come see Riviera Beach.
Thank you, Don. It's been a real pleasure working with you, and I look forward to implementation.
Thank you very much for your presentation. The next item, Madam Clerk.
Item number 7, Resolution 6121, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, approving site plan application from the City of Riviera Beach to allow the construction of a temporary fire station facility, including a 2,880 square foot temporary fire station 87, a 4,000 square foot apparatus bay, and a 3,192 square foot storage building with associated landscaping and parking on property known as 601 Blue Heron, identified by parcel control number 564342282502900000, having a recreational future land use designation and a community facilities zoning designation, providing for conditions of approval, and providing for an effective date. Madam Chair, members of the board, we do not have public comment on this item. The acceptance of public comment on this item is now closed.
Thank you.
I move that we approve site plan application SB 2105.
Second.
Mr. Evans?
Madam Chair, members of the board, if I could have the Director of Development Services, Mr. Clarence Sermon, makes this presentation.
Go ahead, Mr. Sermons.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Madam Attorney, Mr. Mayor. I am before you, as stated, Clarence Sermons, Director of Development Services, to present site plan SP 21-05 for a temporary fire station 87 at 601 Blue Heron Boulevard. The location is the southwest corner of the intersection of Avenue H West and Blue Heron Boulevard, to the immediate north of the Wells Recreation Facility parking lot. The entire parcel is 8.81 acres. The area being utilized for fire station is approximately 0.91 acres, and you can see a picture of the site plan for the project on the screen. Application for site plan approval for the City of Riviera Beach to construct a temporary fire station 87 at property known as 601 Blue Heron Boulevard, including a 2,880 square foot fire station, a 4,000 square foot apparatus bay, and a 3,192 square foot storage building with associated landscaping and parking. Now, staff background and findings on the slide before you. Fire Station 87, located currently at 600 West Blue Heron Boulevard, has reached the end of its useful life. In order to ensure the continuity of fire, rescue, and emergency medical services to the community in and around City Hall, the city must relocate its current fire station to an interim fire station that meets current standards. The location east of the railroad track is important because the train schedule is unpredictable, and the goal is to maintain the current level of service. The future location of the permanent fire station 87 will be determined as part of the discussions for the location of the new City Hall buildings. This temporary facility is intended to serve for approximately 5 to 7 years to allow for the planning and construction of a new permanent facility. The parcel's current zoning designation is CF, or Community Facility, which allows for land owned and or administered by the city or other public agencies to be used for the purposes of providing a public service. On the screen before you is an aerial of the location and the property in question. The existing playground that is at the location proposed for the temporary fire station will be relocated on the site, and the Wells Recreation Facility will not be impacted by this construction project. All right, at the south end of the property here, you can see the relocated playground proposed area moved from where it currently sits near the corner. This would move the playground to a location farther from the traffic on Blue Heron Boulevard and allow for a safer location, but also the space needed for the temporary fire station. Handicapped accessible parking for the facility will be moved from its current location to the south of the fire station along the north perimeter of the Wells Recreation parking lot. Here's a larger image of the proposed site plan showing the circulation, the location of the 3 buildings on the property, existing trees, and the parking lot area for the proposed building. Staff recommends approval of Resolution 61-21, subject to the following conditions. Construction must be initiated within 18 months of the effective date of this resolution. Otherwise, it will be deemed null and void. 2, City Council authorizes staff to approve future amendments to the site plan administratively, so long as the site plan does not deviate greater than 5% from the originally approved site plan. 3, the development must receive final certificate of occupancy from the city for all buildings and or units approved within 5 years of the adoption of this resolution, or it shall be considered null and void. 4, a change of use for these buildings in the future requires a modification of the site plan. And 5, the landscaping must be completed within 45 days of the certificate of occupancy. And that concludes the staff presentation for this resolution. The applicant, who has been working with the city engineer and city staff on this project, is here and present and ready to present. And that concludes, again, staff's presentation.
Very good.
Mr. Sermons, can I borrow that?
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
So can I ask Mr. Sermons a couple questions regarding the site plan?
You want to wait until this presentation, or you want to go now?
I would rather not, because I think he's already touched on specifically the zoning, and I don't want to get too far off into the site plan, and this is specific to the zoning.
All right, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, thank you, Mr. Sermons, for that presentation, and I'm looking at the future land use map, and specifically, I think I brought this concern up to you and also to Mr. Jonathan Evans prior. So currently on Blue Heron in the 1600 block, we converted the fire station to a community garden, and I'm looking at the future land use map, and it's showing as recreation currently still. And I thought, if it was my understanding, that it was stated that even though it's recreation, it's considered a community facility as well on the future land use map.
Is your question, is a community garden considered a recreational use?
Well, I believe what I explained, I remember you were explaining that it was considered a community facility because it was a community garden.
Yes, a community garden is considered a allowable use under that zoning district and future land use.
Right, but my concern is I'm looking at it and it's listed as recreation. So my question is, if we're now converting Wells Recreation, which has a current zoning of recreation, do we need to now do a land use change to make that technically a community facility? Because I think it's, I don't see it listed as a community facility on the zoning map, unless I'm missing something.
So for the property in question for the proposed temporary fire station, the existing zoning is community facility, and that would be consistent with the use of the fire station. Does that answer your question?
Yes, but it takes me back to my original question because that didn't apply when we just changed the fire station to a community garden. So it's just a point of reference. It's like, it seems to me that I thought they were interchangeable, but looking at this map, they're not. And I'm just wondering, maybe I'm mistaken, but I seem to be kind of not understanding how I can see that we're changing what is on here as recreational to a community garden, but when we get down the street to Wells Recreation, we're changing recreation facility to what you're saying is also, I believe you're saying it's synonymous with community facility. And I'm not exactly sure I'm understanding that correctly or even looking at the correct map. But, you know, I just wanted to bring that point up because, you know, I'm just a little confused on how the two is working, and I'm looking at the actual zoning and then future land use map now. And I'll be happy to kind of take it with you offline. But, you know, I support the site plan. I just was not sure as to what the actual future land use was for community facility. For this community facility, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Thank you, sir. Would you go ahead with your presentation, please?
Yes, Madam Chair, Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to present to you this evening. I really don't have much more than Mr. Sherman's pointed out, but the aerial might help clarify some things as well. The affected area highlighted in red here was the 8 acres. Within that, where we're really putting the fire station is that 0.9 acres. So just up in that corner is primarily where that work is. And I want to emphasize that the playground right there is just being relocated to the other side of the Wells Center, just south here. So it's going to be located right next door to the community facility, as well as, you know, close proximity to the courts and things. So that's where that's getting relocated right there. And again, our affected area is up there. The future land use on it is recreation. The zoning on it right now is communities facilities, and the use is permitted in there. I don't know if that helps with that at all. Again, the request is for about a 10,000 square foot fire station facility, 3,000 in a temporary firehouse, 4,000 in an apparatus building, which covers which is kind of open and covers the equipment, and then we have 3,000 square feet of supply storage. And I'm just going to advance through some of these quickly. Let me back up here. This is the corner that we're looking at here of Avenue H, Blue Heron, and the facility will be sitting up in here in front of the wells. This is all getting new landscape treatments along here to enhance the corner, as well as down Blue Heron. That corridor has additional landscape standards that are required as part of that, and this facility will also incorporate those. This is the colored site plan, which also helps clarify some of the circulation. So this is the enhanced landscaping that will be provided as part of this. We've got the employee parking area. We've got access for the fire station in directly from Blue Heron Boulevard. We've got the 4,000 square foot building, the apparatus building, which, you know, covers and protects the equipment, all the new equipment that you just purchased. We've got a 3,000 square foot fire station facility, and then the storage. This is the existing parking lot that's by the Wells Center, and we just have to modify one of the handicap spaces. So access points here, exit here. We've got the light over here, and that's really the site plan. Again, we're relocating that playground area just to the south down here. I'm sorry for lasering you, Mr. Sermons. We have recommendation approval by staff. We have our team here to answer any questions you may have about the facility that we can help with, and would try to answer any questions you might have. And thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Okay, so Mr. Sermons, I think here's what I'm seeing. So you said 601 West Blue Heron, correct?
Correct.
It's listed on the zoning map as 2409 Avenue H West. Would that be why? I guess I probably was looking at the wrong property because I was looking at 2409 Avenue H West, and I do see that there is a current use of recreational and then community facility. So my apologies, but I guess how do we now, is there going to be a separation, or like do we plat that separately? Because now we have 2409 in the zoning map, and you stated 601. What has to happen? Is that like a replat or something, or?
Well, the separate structures would be addressed separately, and typically is based on the street that it would be facing. So you can double check to make sure there aren't any discrepancies there, but that 601 would be for the building facing Blue Heron, the others facing H Street.
Okay. All right, fair enough. Thank you.
Chair.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. I received an email from a resident who asked about the park, concerned about removing the gathering place for our children and families, but it looks like you're putting the park in a different location, right? Okay, so that point is fine. But he also suggested that because the building might not be very attractive, unless we're doing some really outstanding landscaping, that maybe the building could go behind City Hall. You know where that depression is, back behind the utility district building? That area in there. Is there enough space there to put something like this so it wouldn't be right out on Blue Heron? I forwarded the email to you just now. Unfortunately, I just got it today. So maybe at some point you can just take a look at that and see if it's a possibility to put this thing somewhere where it's not right out in our faces.
I can say that the current location before you today is the result of conversations between the consultant, the project manager of the city, which is our city engineer, as well as the fire department on what locations work best for their needs. And I do know fire is present today to answer any questions related to how those discussions landed in this location being selected.
Thanks.
All right, very good. Are there any other questions in regards to this item?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Will the current playground equipment be moved, or are we getting new equipment?
That part I would have to defer to the project team on as well, in terms of whether it will be the same equipment or a brand new
That's
equipment.
the least that you can do.
I think we
is get
should
us-
put some new equipment.
It would be very nice if we can get new equipment to match the new tennis courts that are out there.
Right. All right, very good. Chief Hurd, you wanted to say something?
Yes, I wanted to address Councilwoman Botel, and good evening, everyone. We've looked at several different properties. One of the things we're also contemplating and considering is reimagine Riviera Beach. So we don't want to put the temporary fire station in a location where it may hinder other growth or opportunities, one. And for us, response time is critical. The Blue Heron corridor, as our city is longer than it is wide, is our main access point. And with Inlet Grove being set back, it's already a challenge for us at times. Being further behind that school would exacerbate those conditions.
Thank you. That makes sense to me. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any other questions regarding this item?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Okay.
Just briefly, with regards to the playground, we will also add some equipment to the existing playground, so it would actually be an enhancement.
Very good. Madam Clerk.
Councilperson McCoy?
Yes.
Councilperson Botel?
Yes.
Pro Tem Miller Anderson?
Yes.
Chair Lanier?
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion
Madam
passes.
Chair?
Motion
members of the
passes
board.
5-0. We can, I'm going to go ahead and get started with our public. Go ahead.
That motion approved 4-0. Councilperson Lawson is not present.
Oh, absent. Okay, very good. We are at the moment in our agenda where we have our public comment. Please be reminded, the City Council has adopted rules of decorum. Public comment during official meetings, which has been posted at the front desk. In an effort to preserve order, if any of the rules are not adhered to, the council chair may have any disruptive speaker or attendee removed from the podium, from the meeting, and/or the building if necessary. Please govern yourselves accordingly. Public comments shall begin at 7:30 p.m. unless there is no further business of the City Council, which in the event it shall begin sooner. In addition, if any item is being considered at 7:30, then comments from the public shall begin immediately after the item has been concluded. Any person who would like to speak during public comments, please fill out a public comment card located at the front desk and give it to the staff before the public comment section is announced. Madam Clerk.
Madam Chair, the acceptance of public comment cards for this particular section of the agenda is now closed. Dolores Williams, Cindy March, Mary Bram. Dolores Williams, Cindy March, Mary Bram.
To the council, the mayor, and the citizens of Riviera Beach. I want to say something that I heard last night at the meeting. It seems as if y'all incorporating some of the stuff that they say was just a thought of about moving the fire department and the parks and all that. But I just want to ask a question, and it's directly to Mr. Evans. You say you're going to put the police department in 3 different locations. You say you had $23 million already on hand. They gave you $1 million, I think, for safety. What I want to know, because I was talking to someone off, they say they needed more money to hire more police officers. So if you got $23 million and $1 million over there, then you say 7.5 will be given to you. Why aren't you hiring more police department, making it more visible for the police to be here in our city? And I'm asking that y'all do that, take that money and hire some more police department qualified and use it for other things here in this city. The stuff we had there over at Wells, I've seen that presentation like that in a different way 3 times. And it seemed like it always come up when it's close into election time. Y'all trying to show all these great things y'all gonna do for this city, the bad stuff here, but yet you done walked all over it, lived all over it, haven't done anything, but yet all of a sudden coming up for March and November, y'all ready to show all this stuff. It should have been showing this early. Yes, election is coming up again. I think it's 3 seats coming up. I don't know if I want to run for one or not, but I'm for the citizen of this city. Please help the police department get what they need there, every supply that they need there. Please take that money and put it to use. Don't wait till y'all start putting a shovel 18 months from now or 100 years next year. How about like right now? Help the police department. I want to make a comment twice about the police department and about the young ladies that answer the phone for the clerk. Those are some of the best people that answer the phone professionally. I'd like to give Mr. the park manager, he done a beautiful job. The ladies that fixed the senior citizen dinners. I was cut off and almost about to be put in jail and put out of here because I want to give the compliments. But I want to let them know that there are great people here. There are great citizens here. There are great police officers. They had a high-speed chase. And it started here and it ended up here. But I want to tell you, those officers got out, put their life on the line. They was 10 deep. But they caught that person. And I want to let you know that they're doing a good job. They're not, I will come and tell you, they're not doing a good job. Okay? Give them that money and hire those officers.
Thank you, ma'am.
Cindy March, Mary Brand, Doretta Polk.
Good evening, Council. I was at the workshop last night, and if I can remember or recall, the same thing you all presented last night was presented in 2015. You are a new council, but you all knew about it. If it wasn't good in 2015, what make it so good in 2021? And I feel though it should be put on a referendum what we put in our city, because we are the taxpayers, not the council vote yes and it go. That's not the way it should work. I mean, we don't have a voice. And you wonder why people are tired and sick and tired, because what you all do is personal vendettas, and it's all about what you all want. It's not about what the residents want. If you're going to put this much energy in revitalizing, you need to put energy in this clean water and the water bill and having the system brought up. Enough already. You all going to mess around. Somebody going to die off this dirty water, and you all going to be just like Flint, Michigan. And for us, the police department, all polices are not bad. We have to call them when we need them, But we got enough police here that is off duty because they've been reprimanded to the highest degree from our new chief of police, but the other ones done worse than what they have done, and they have not been reinstated to their jobs as of yet. Enough is enough. I mean, who can we go to? Who can we turn to? We have a council person for each area. We have a supposed to be manager for the whole city, and we can't get no answers. I done been up here every time I come. I ask with respect. I ask professionally, can somebody please get in contact with me about the water bill and this dirty water? Then you go on social media, it's telling you to boil your water just to wash your dishes. Who does that? But this is the city where we love to live, work, and play. Don't no two people dictate what goes on with the city. We don't need no more warehouses and affordable houses because they're not affordable. They're $200,000 and up. And to have a rude, I mean very rude, chairperson that's sitting in front of us and telling us to have respect, you got to earn respect in order to get respect.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mary Bram, Doretta Polk, William Wiley.
Good evening, Miss Mary Bram. I'm going to start off giving a shout out to the graduating seniors, the kindergartens, the elementary students, the 7th and the 8th graders, as well as the seniors. I know that it has been a difficult year for you, but all of you that mustered through what we went through, and we know that it was more difficult for you. So Ms. Bram say, hats off, because I did not forget you. COVID is still here. Over 900 plus county Secret Service employees has been affected with COVID, as well as within our communities as well. The prices of homes, inflation doesn't stop. It's in the paper today. $500 to $475 for homes now. So it doesn't stop. We won't go back to 150,000 anymore. Also, I would like to give a shout out to Officer K. Jones. You know what you did. Ms. Bram say thank you. Also, the officer down in West Palm Beach, you came to Ms. Bram rescue because Ms. Bram came and got you. So you took care of me. He knows Officer Kearney out here. So all the officers, I say thank you. And your service is valuable, and we intend to keep you. I would like to invite the community. Our last session is on June the 29th. It is not about one person. It is a combination of who we are and where we're going at. See, this is the future here now, so you might as well get on board. Truth is draped in a lie, and truth not told is the second form of lie. So see, so we are going somewhere, and we will move. And the new water plant, yes, we will move on that, because the water plant attracts businesses into your city. The peoples that come and buy homes and stuff. We're building up this corridor here. So water is life, and we intend to get that plant built. See, it's always 4 or 5 years ago, you didn't have that mindset. You didn't have that vision. You had that nicking and picking. You had that pet peeve that's going on, instead of taking a vast interest in your city that is comprised of your residents. So we're moving on, and we don't intend to stop. So all of those that do not want to get on board, you're welcome to get on board. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown.
Doretta Polk, William Wiley.
Good evening. My name is Doretta Park. I'm a resident of Riviera Beach, and I just want to commend Mrs. Deirdre Jacobs. A couple of weeks ago, a dear elderly friend of mine who attends my church, she called me, and she was crying, stating that she had been trying to contact the city for over 8 months. And I went around to her house, and I saw the destruction that was done, that was not taken care of properly. She had a massive hole right in front of her home where she drives in and out. They put some type of barrier around there, the area, but yet when she drives down, her car would get stuck. And I said, how long has this been going on? And she's in her 90s. And she said for 8 months, and her daughter explained the situation to me. I immediately called Deirdre, and I said, Ms. Jacobs, I got a problem could you help me with it? Because I didn't know who exactly to call, but I know she's with utility director. And I explained the situation. That very same day, Deirdre came out right after work at 5 o'clock. She did not leave this senior citizen's home until after 9 o'clock. The next very day, that situation was taken care of. This is the type of personnel we definitely need to keep into the city of Riviera Beach. She's very dedicated. She takes her time. She was very apologetic to the citizen. But I applaud you. I applaud you, Mrs. Jacobs. Absolutely. This is the type of people we need to be in command and taking care of us. Another thing I want to commend Mr. Nehemiah Spence, who's the director of Clean and Safe. Absolutely wonderful gentleman who's out to look care of the city, make sure the area is clean. Him and his ambassadors, I take my hats off to him. Another thing, Ms. Deirdre Jacobs also has Ms. Dent and Ms. Monroe in her office area. They're very wonderful, very professional. I want to commend the security, the 2 people out here, security, who checks our bags and checks, make sure we don't have weapons on us, because we need to be safe in here. I want to also, please, everyone, get vaccinated. This Delta virus, variant that we have here, is so dangerous. Please get vaccinated. And I thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Polk.
William Wiley.
Good afternoon, board. Again, Ms. Brown kind of stole a little bit of my thunder because I wanted to give thank you to all the graduating seniors, the graduating 8th grade, from all high schools and middle schools. It's been a really tough year, and we've done our best to try to educate the kids virtually and brick and mortar. And like I said, congratulations to the kids going through some really tough times, because it was really tough on the teachers also. I would like to give, to Public Works, I'd like to give kudos out to Cedric Clark. We had a situation in Federal Gardens where some of the alleyways in the back need to be taken care of, and he sent out a couple people, and I apologize for not getting everyone's name, but I know Corey Dixon, Antonio Davis, and a Snowy Eden. They came out and cleaned up everything, and the neighbors are really excited and happy about being able to get some of their property and get everything cleaned up and everything. So I would like to thank those guys for doing that, and sorry for leaving other people out, because about 6 or 7 other people who came out and knocked it out the first day, and then they sent the cleanup crew to come back at the last minute. The Reimagine Riviera Beach, great idea, great outline, great curriculum, great people involved, great city manager, great council involvement. Only thing we didn't have was really great attendance, and we need to have more people come in and be more involved. So like the young lady was saying earlier about people not having to say so, and they thinking the council is going to make that decision. The council is not making that decision, we are. And that's the reason why we want more people to come, and hopefully more people on TV was watching on the channel and will come out during the last week, next Tuesday at 5:30, at Wells Gym to participate in Part 4 and help us solidify that decision of what we're going to do with the city of Riviera Beach going forward. One thing that the engineer stated, and I apologize, I forgot his name, really nice guy, it's kind of slipping my mind right now, but what he spoke of, he said that we can't move forward with the same mindset. We can't move forward doing the same habits. We can't move forward with the same business as usual, and we can't move forward with the same intentions as 4 to 8 years ago. This is a new time right now, and at this point, we're trying to move forward. We know these ideas were here before, but guess what? Now we have a staff that can actually move on it, and we have a city manager who's ready to move on it. The water, the business, the city, the people, we're all moving up at the same time. So again, thanks, Mr. Evans, because he stated one thing during his speech that I thought made all the sense in the world. He said, at this point right now, we're going to do it 100% Riviera Beach. It should benefit the city 100%, not 50-50, not 80-20. It should benefit the city, the people in this city 100% Riviera Beach. Thanks again, Mr. Evans, for having the Reimagine Riviera Beach and also the staff that actually participated in that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wiley.
Madam Chair, members of the board, that concludes public comments. We're now on to item number 8.
Before we get started with item number 8, Mr. Evans, do you have any response to some of the questions that were asked?
Yes, Madam Chair. With regards to the discussion at the Reimagine session, it was discussed that the concept as it relates to law enforcement is decentralization, not having one particular facility that you respond out of. We were talking about the deployment of substations throughout the community that will provide a greater police presence. So I don't understand how that got misconstrued, but our intent behind that is that we want to make sure that law enforcement has a visual presence in the neighborhood and has a relationship with the community. There's not a situation whereby they're going to respond out of one particular facility. Our officers are out and about in the community. As it relates to the personnel deployment, we do have some discussions with the board about some staffing modifications that we're looking to bring forward for consideration. So that will be part of the discussions the board will have with staff at your budget sessions. With regards to the development going to a referendum, in a represented republic, which we are, you, the elected officials, are the ones that are entrusted with that particular responsibility. There is no situation in America or internationally in some cases whereby you would develop projects by referendum, because then it becomes a popularity contest and you all are entrusted with that responsibility. And that's something that's been since the inception of our community and since the inception of governance in the United States of America. So that is something that you all do. The only thing that would ever go to the voters would be anything that would amend the charter. The charter is the contract that the voters have with the city and the elected body, and any modifications to that contract would need a voter approval. But you, as the elected officials, have the authority to approve developments or disapprove developments. With respect to the utility district, I'm proud to say that staff had a very productive pre-bid meeting. The pre-bid meeting was held this week. We had over 36 participants attend virtually and about 35 that were in the room. And some of the best engineers and financiers in the country were here in the Riviera Beach Marina Event Center and participating online. So we are very excited about the possibility of bringing this particular facility out of the ground as quickly as possible. With respect to the funds that were talked about, I'm glad that the speaker gave us a plug for the Reimagine Session 4, because the Reimagine Session 4, which is next Tuesday, we ask that you be there around 5:30. We kick off at 6:15. Is going to talk about financing and how restrictive monies can be only utilized for certain particular purposes. Even the monies that we got from the federal government, there are some restrictions in regards to how we utilize that money. So some monies you cannot utilize for personnel expenditures. And so there was talk about the American Rescue, $7.5 million that the city received, the sales tax money, as well as the $1 million state allocation that we got for a public safety facility. So at the Reimagine Session 4, we're going to talk about the funding mechanisms that the city has and how we can move this forward. The city has, I believe, for well over 10 years has had discussions about city facilities, but I can tell you since 2015 or even before then, we haven't been able to realize some of those facilities. Our intent from staff is to move forward with these facilities, and I think this board has made it abundantly clear, if we can't do it as staff, you'll find somebody else that will do it. Because we have a task and a responsibility that has been deferred for far too long, and we cannot continue and wait for infrastructure improvements in our community. We're seeing projects that were discussed from 2015 or 2017 cost almost 100% more than if we would have moved forward with some of these projects. And unfortunately, some of the projects that we're moving forward with now, you're seeing construction costs that have increased just 30% in the past year as a result of the pandemic. So we're moving as quickly as we can, but honestly, we can't move forward without the participation from the community. So there will be subsequent opportunities for further discussions on the capital improvements plan. And one of the things that we're proud is that on July 3rd, we'll be opening our new library and emerging community center at 2129 North Congress Avenue. And staff has been working very hard, and I think the board is going to be extremely impressed and surprised about the facility and what we can do as staff and as an elected body when we work together. Also, I did want to provide a little bit of additional context with respect to the New Markets Tax Credit Program and the conversation that we were having. I did get an email from staff that the developers for Marina Phase 2 are looking forward to going through the state tax credit program. The state tax credit program is an application process. The New Market Tax Credit Program is that if we have a project, the New Market Tax Credit is allocated to an entity, and then that entity looks for projects. So we would hope that there would be a project that the City of Riviera Beach has, maybe Marina Phase 2, or maybe how the Marina Event Center was funded. There's a project, and then that investor decides to pick that project to invest the money. So it is a different arrangement, but it is a mechanism that's utilized when available, but it is a lottery, almost like a lottery system to be able to receive the New Market Tax Credit, and then they have to pick your project. So I did want to provide some clarity with regards to that. And that concludes my comments, Madam Chair.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk.
Madam Chair, members of the board, we're now on to item number 8, ordinance number 4172, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, repealing Chapter 2 entitled Administration, Article 4 entitled Code Enforcement, Division 2 entitled Code Enforcement Board and Special Magistrate, creating Chapter 2 entitled Administration, Article 4 entitled Code Enforcement, Division 2 entitled Code Compliance, providing for severability, conflicts, codification, and providing for an effective date. Madam Chair, members of the board, we do have public comment on this item. The acceptance of public comment on this item is now closed.
Move that we approve ordinance 4172.
Second.
Mr. Evans.
Madam Chair and members of the board, if I can have the Assistant City Attorney, Ms. Lina Busby, and Director Clarence Sermons make this presentation.
Good evening, Chair. Good evening, Board. I just have a minor issue that I wanted to address initially with the manager. So I would just ask that you provide us 2 minutes to address an issue regarding this second reading with the manager prior to our presentation.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
Madam Clerk, could we rearrange these numbers? Have 9 to go instead?
I don't think it's, I think it's just.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, we can't move forward with item number 9 and then come back to number 8 if you so desire.
She said they need time.
You're going to have to go to 10.
All right, well, let's go to number 11. Madam Clerk.
Okay. Ordinance number 4173, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances at Chapter 2 to establish the Office of Independent Auditor, providing for powers and duties of the auditor, creating an audit committee and establishing such powers and duties of the committee, requiring an audit plan and annual report from the auditor, providing the auditor access to city staff, records, and property, requiring peer reviews of the independent auditor's office, providing an effective date, and for other purposes. Madam Chair, members of the board, we do not have public comment on this item. The acceptance of public comment on this item is now closed.
Move that we approve ordinance 4173.
Second.
Very good. Ms. Elena?
Good evening, Mayor, Madam Chair, members of City Council. Back on May 19th, I presented to you the draft ordinance for the Office of the Independent Auditor. Tonight, I wish to use this opportunity to discuss the draft ordinance with you and answer your questions.
All right, very good. Anyone have any questions in regards to item number 10? I'm sorry, number 11, ordinance 4173. Yes, go ahead. You're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You mind if I call you Miss Elena? Is that fine?
Of course. Go ahead.
Thank you. All right. Thank you for having me last week in that meeting. So, members, I wanted to make sure that we understood that this committee that's being formed is separate from the Audit Selection Committee. Is that correct, Ms. Elena?
In a sense, it is, because the Audit Selection Committee was formed with, the purpose behind it was to select the external auditor, and the Audit Committee, in addition to that function, they will also oversee the internal auditor's office. So in a sense, it goes beyond the selection of the external auditor.
Follow up.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Ms. Elena. Members, you know, I think it's a great ordinance. Just a couple things that I thought may not be the best is that the members who are going to be ultimately appointed to this audit committee, their terms are tied to the member that appoints them on city council. And I don't know that, in my opinion, that that's the best opportunity. And I can remember from experience on the planning and zoning board, if you had a whole board to change over, I mean, you're just ironically in that quarter, like for instance, if our elections are in March and they meet quarterly, you conceivably might not even have an actual board to meet if there's business to come before the audit selection committee. And quite frankly, I'm not looking for a board member to have any allegiance to me. I mean, I think what I would expect from an audit committee is that they're completely, in some respect, appointed by us, but independent in that regard, that they're not tied to an actual board member's concern. And, you know, I would ask, you know, if there's some dialogue or discussion on that, because going forward, the audit committee is the very arm that will handle concerns that's brought by the internal auditor. And this is a separate function from the audit selection committee and a separate function from our external auditor. But for me, I think it's a great ordinance. I certainly am going to make sure that we have a conversation during budget time that there was some general language that says we'll provide the resources, Mr. Evans. I don't know exactly what that is that the internal auditor would need, but to carry out our functions. But you know, there was a lot of things that we kind of discussed. A lot of it built around training, but that I think is for another meeting. But members, I certainly wanted to start the conversation on the board's position on having specific terms tied to board members. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Are there any other questions in regards to this item? Very good. Madam Clerk?
Councilperson Botel?
Yes.
Councilperson.
Madam Chair.
We're in the middle of a vote. We can come back to that. Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
I was trying to ask.
I understand. We are in the middle of a vote. Madam Clerk.
Councilperson McCoy?
Madam Chair, can you indulge?
You can answer the clerk, sir.
I was trying to offer an amendment because in its current.
Well, you should have stated that, sir.
Well, I wanted to have a discussion first before I offered it. I wanted to provide some context. You know, I mean, I don't know how else to do this, but it was something that I even spoke to Ms. Elena, and she said, well, that would make sense. I wanted to bring it into fashion so that the members had read that section would understand where I was coming from. I mean, you jumped right into...
I jumped right into it because you didn't offer an amendment, sir.
Because I said I wanted to see what the board's discussion was, Madam Chair.
Go ahead and offer your amendment, sir.
If the members are so inclined, I did not want the provision that the board members be tied to the specific council member's term, that they be appointed to just a standard 3-year term as opposed to tied to the member's term, because ultimately if a member is not on the board, then that board member is then removed from the audit selection committee. And that is what I wanted to do, and it'd be my amendment to offer that we remove that provision and make it a standard 3-year term.
Madam Chair, I would second the motion that
We can withdraw your original.
Yeah, I'll withdraw.
Motion.
I'll
Okay.
withdraw my original motion, and I will second Mr.
All right, you want to withdraw your original motion. Hold on a second. You withdraw your original motion. Do you withdraw your second, Ms. Miller Anderson? All right, very good. Go ahead, Ms. Motel. Yes.
It's section 2-237, establishment of the audit committee, part D, term.
Wait, let's get this withdrawing thing first. Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
No, that was the
Madam,
attorney.
which is the city attorney that needs.
I just want to bring to the council's attention that making these terms all 3 years means that they all will expire at the same time. So I don't know if you want to have 3 of the members be appointed for 3 years and the other 2 appointed for 2 years so that the terms are staggered.
Okay. That is an option.
Question. Ms. Elena, did you capture some additional, I guess, insight or best practices regarding the current ordinance that you may be able to share with us today regarding the composition of this board?
As it relates to the terms?
Yes.
And also the staggered terms, because I think we talked about both of those.
Okay, as it relates to the terms, what we can do, as it relates to the terms, what we can do is the initial term, a group can be set for 3 years and another for 2. And then going forward, the terms can be standard 3-year terms, but they will be staggered. So we don't run into that issue where everybody's term expires at the same time. So for example, 2 members can go from October 1st, 2021 to September 30th, 2023, for example, and the other 3 can go from October 1st, 2021 to September 30th, 2024. And then going after that, they can go for the 3-year terms. And that will alleviate the issue or that problem.
Yes. Hold on a second, sir. Hold on. So is that what you were saying, Ms. Nguyen?
Yes, that's exactly what I was saying.
Okay, very good. Go ahead, sir.
Madam Chair, but I would think that those members could be reappointed, yes? Okay.
Yes, of course.
So if it makes it simple, we can literally pass it in its current condition, and Ms. Elena can work back those changes so that we can see exactly what it looks like and bring back an amended version on second reading?
Correct.
But I respectfully, Madam Chair, I wanted to have the discussion because I think I spent probably 2 hours talking to Ms. Elena about the various things and components within this ordinance, which I think is a great addition. And obviously, we have other organizations throughout Palm Beach County that has an internal audit. I just want to make it work because I've literally seen where we've had boards to stop because there was some quirky composition where every council person wanted to have a specific appointee, and then when they drop off, there was nobody else, and then you literally stop all business, especially on a very critical board like the Planning and Zoning Board, where nothing is happening. So, conversation is all I needed. So, I'm ready to vote on it.
All right, very good. Thank you, sir.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
So I will go back to make my original motion that we adopt ordinance 4173.
And my second.
All right, very good. With our original motion, go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Madam Chair, members of the board, so are we not, we need to vote on the amended motion?
No, do you make the suggestion, Mr. McCoy, that we bring it back?
I'm withdrawing the amended motion, and I'm reinstating my original motion to adopt ordinance 4173 in its current form, with the understanding that Ms. Elena will come back at second reading with some amendments to the term.
Very good.
Thank you. Councilperson Botel?
Yes.
Councilperson McCoy?
Yes.
Pro Tem Miller Anderson?
Yes.
Chair Lanier?
Yes.
Thank you, Ms.
And thank you, Mr. McCoy, for catching that.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chairperson Lanier, you want to announce the vote?
Yes, that is a 5-0 vote for, 4-0 vote in favor of the audit committee resolution. Ordinance, I'm sorry.
Madam Chair, are we now going back to item number 8? Or?
Yes, we're going to go back to number 8.
Madam Chair, members of the board, please be reminded that we do have public comment on item number 8.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
Madam Chair and members of the board, city staff would like to postpone this item to your next regular meeting, and I would allow for Assistant City Attorney Ms. Lina Busby to make the necessary remarks for the board.
Okay, so we're going to postpone item number 8 and 9?
Just 8.
Just 8?
Yes.
All right, very good. Can I get a motion to postpone ordinance 4172?
So moved.
All right, so moved in second. Madam Clerk?
Who did the
Do we
second,
need a
Madam Chair?
Mr. McCoy?
Okay.
Councilperson McCoy?
Yes.
Councilperson Botel?
Yes.
Pro Tem Miller Anderson?
Yes.
Chair Lanier?
Yes.
Yeah. Madam Chair? Oh, no, we're going to do 9 now, right? That's,
Yes.
okay, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. There's just something that our department, the legal department, finds will better complete this ordinance, and we intend to renotice it pursuant to law, and we will have it ready and have it heard before this honorable board at the next city council meeting.
All right, very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair.
Number 9?
Ordinance number 4164, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, amending Chapter 11 entitled Nuisances by creating a new Article 7 to be entitled Chronic Nuisance Property, establishing a procedure to address properties that chronically overburden the police department and code compliance division with nuisance activities, providing for conflicts and severability, and providing for an effective date. Madam Chair, members of the board, we do have public comment on this item. The acceptance of public comment on this item is now closed.
I move that we approve ordinance 4164.
Second.
Mr. Evans?
Madam Chair and members of the board, if I can have, I believe, Chief Osgood and Ms. Busby will make this presentation.
All right, very good. Ms. Busby?
Yes, good evening, Chair, members of the board. I believe you heard a presentation on first reading for ordinance 4164. There have been no fundamental changes to this second reading except for some minor grammatical and punctual amendments that have been made to update this item.
Very good. Any questions for Ms. Busby or Chief Osgood in regards to this item?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Ms. Busby, is the provision still inside of here that provides that the special magistrate can authorize the city attorney to initiate foreclosure?
Yes. What section are you referencing, just so I can go to it in the proposed ordinance?
Well, I do recall it. I know it's in here. I don't have it up precisely, but, you know, I wanted to go back to the comment I heard when we had this on first reading, is that I don't understand. It was stated that it's not in the policy of the city attorney's office, but if it's in the ordinance, then that kind of supersedes any policy, if any, that exists in the attorney's office. And, you know, my only thing is if that would be removed, because I can tell you there was a whole lot of discussions about the city was, you know, exercising foreclosure, and I want to make sure that that doesn't kind of start that impression of false information.
You're referencing the chronic nuisance abatement ordinance or the code compliance ordinance? Because in the chronic nuisance abatement ordinance, the main method that the city uses as enforcement is through the written, it's actually section, let me just go straight to it. It's in section 11-224 penalties, and it uses a form of a written assessment for each property, in that they would have, they would essentially work with police to bring that property into compliance with the nuisance. And they have a certain set period of time, there are fines, and eventually those fines, it doesn't, I didn't read in my review of this ordinance that it would turn into a foreclosure proceeding initiated by the city attorney.
Okay, well, I'm mistaken, but we did, the other ordinance does provide that specific.
The other, yes,
Yes.
the code
Okay.
compliance ordinance does,
Okay.
and that's pursuant to statute.
Okay. But that doesn't necessarily mean we have to incorporate it, though, correct?
Well, if you want to have, I think we should have that conversation just so it can be clean. We should have that conversation as a discussion when we have the code compliance ordinance on second reading.
Fair enough, thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Any other questions in regards to this item? Madam Clerk?
Councilperson McCoy?
Yes.
Councilperson Botel?
Yes.
Pro Tem Miller Anderson?
think she had any. She did.
Don't you, she has
Yeah,
public
public
comment,
comments?
right?
Excuse me?
Did you have public comment?
Yes, we did.
You did. All right, very good.
Mary Brown?
I'm glad I caught you before you did, because I know.
We're sorry about that, Ms. Brown.
Attorney Christie laid it out for we as homeowners that are totally vested in our community. And our reimagine it also gives us the 3 R's. What are our strengths, our resources untapped, and fix what is broken. And this has been broken. And she brought us into compliance. And this is nothing new. We're just getting it here. And I'm so grateful for the attorney, the staff, and everybody that saw this great need. I'm going to get some highlights right quick here. Chronic nuisance order. Additional tool to address nuisance properties in our city. The purpose of this ordinance is to obtain voluntary compliance with the property owner through a written action plan to eliminate nuisance activity at the property. If compliance does not occur, the city may assess charges for further police services to the property and take other corrective actions at the property. The excessive calls for service addressed in this ordinance includes at least 33 different statutory or other code violations, including but not limited to alcohol, noise, dogs, discharging firearms, prostitution, resisting arrest, house parties, controlled substance, and other felony violations. Once a property reaches the threshold set for in the ordinance to be declared a nuisance, the process commences with notice to the owner of the issue. This is also will put monies into our coffers as well, especially since we're gonna rebuild this place here the way that we foresee it for our fathers. The benefit of this ordinance is to limit the impact that these nuisance properties have on their neighbors and their communities. Thank goodness. Thank you. Thank you. And I know this board here is going to rush this here because we've been waiting for this. And not saying that we don't love every resident in the city, but it's time for us to step up to the plate. Long overdue. Long overdue. So we're going to take charge. Yes, Ms. Bram has had both of her vaccines, her flu shot, her pneumonia shot, and I've been wearing my boots all through COVID.
All right, thank you so much.
Bram ready to move too.
Yes, thank you so much, Ms. Brown.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
All right, very good, yes.
Madam Chair, if I could beg the indulgence of my colleagues, could we possibly move item 14 to this point in time? I see at least 11 people in the audience who have an interest in this item. And
Still in the middle.
Say that again?
Yeah, we still got a vote on the floor, though.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Go
I
ahead.
want to ask a question, Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
I was just looking at this, and obviously, I think Ms. Busby pointed this out. This is, I guess, WAP and INP is listed throughout. Are those acronyms going to be transferred to the actual text version? Because INP,
You mean the written action plan? Well, in the text version, it's initially used and spelled out as written action plan, and then the acronym is used throughout.
Right, but then, you know, I guess I don't recall in any kind of authoritative rules from the state or statutes that we use acronyms, and specifically IMP. I don't know that anybody up here knows what that means unless you actually read all 17 pages of the ordinance, which stands for Initial Nuisance Property. It just seems that it's used very freely and very frequently throughout here. SEPTED I see is one that's mentioned one time, but certainly WAP and IMP is listed several times. And it's just a question. I think everybody can probably reduce what PD means. But is that going to be in its fashion how it's going to be recorded and codified?
Yes, Councilperson McCoy, as you see it is the way it will be codified.
Yeah, that's in reverse fashion, Ms. Busby, of what typically happens when you have complex terminologies. You have a definition section, and that sets forth it, and then it's repeated throughout. But using acronyms in authoritative legislation is not anything I've seen on the state level. And really the reason is because you want to be very precise and clear. And you know, I've seen this before, and I know in case law where there was a company that was taken to the U.S. tax court because they used CPA, and CPA didn't mean the definition of certified public accountant. It means it had some other definition that was close to it, and it was strucken down. So I just don't want to create more confusion when we're literally creating laws here. My opinion, it should have just been very clear.
All right, thank you, sir, for those comments. Madam Clerk, could we have the vote for the item that's on the table, please?
Councilperson McCoy?
Yes.
Councilperson Votel?
Yes.
Pro Tem Miller Anderson?
Yes.
Chair Lanier?
Yes.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
If it is possible, could we move item 14 up in the agenda just to accommodate the 11 or so people I see in the audience who might have interest in this item?
Yes. City Attorney, do we need a vote to reorder the agenda this way?
You can just take it out of order.
Thank you.
I'm sorry?
You can just take it out of order.
Okay, very good.
Thank you very much.
We're going to go with number 14. Madam Clerk.
Resolution number 69-21, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, approving a change order with Brothers Construction of Stewart, Florida, and Erdman Anthony of West Palm Beach, Florida, for costs associated with redesign of the Grand Bahama Bridge and associated construction oversight services in the amount of $1,070,503.39 and $202,000 respectively, authorizing the city manager to approve change orders up to 10%, authorizing the Director of Finance and Administrative Services to make payment for same from project number 18097 and provide an effective date. Madam Chair, members of the board, We do have public comment on this item. The acceptance of public comment on this item is now closed. And I also want to acknowledge that 19 comments were received via email and will be made a part of the transcribed minutes.
Very good.
Motion to approve Resolution 6921.
Second.
Madam Clerk, public comments, please.
Patricia Papa, Leticia Nazo, Larry Lord.
Just let it go.
Good evening. I'm not sure who I address this to. My name is Patricia Popper, and I live in Palm Beach Isles. And it's been mentioned to me that they're going to make 2 of the roads one-way during this project. I'm wondering if it's temporary, and why is this necessary to have the streets be one-way? I can't see how it would affect the Grand Bahama area. That's my question.
We're gonna stop the public comment right here. I want the people who want to do public comments to hear the presentation first, so that there may be some questions that may be in the presentation that you may have. Go ahead, Mr. Bailey.
All right, Terrence Bailey, city engineer. I did not have a presentation specifically above and beyond the backup, but I can speak to this change order. As you all know, and this is a very public and important project to the community. We've been in design on the bridges at Palm Beach Isles for about 7 years now. We began construction last year. While we were in the middle of construction, an issue of the westernmost bridge at Grand Bahama Drive came up. There were multiple community meetings, and including on-site meetings with the community to go over the specifics of the reconstruction of that bridge. While we were in the field, it became apparent that the design that we've been working on was insufficient for the needs of the residents in the westernmost portion of the community, and we immediately commissioned a redesign. We were before this council to authorize that redesign of the bridge. The construction plans were completed, and unfortunately, due to this significant escalation in commodity costs that COVID has brought upon us, we are here really to address cost escalations based on the redesign of that bridge. To the question asked by the resident, currently, while the bridges are under construction, there is a one-way only at the bridge itself. The rest of the streets are not impacted. That will be the similar case when we reconstruct the bridge in the back. Obviously, in order to have two-way traffic, the bridges will be very wide, so they go down to a one-way or one lane of temporary bridge for a cost-effective measure, but there's a lighting system that only lets one direction of cars go at a time. It is only during the period that that bridge is reconstructed. So there will be no other impacts in the way of one way on any other street except exactly in the small footprint where the bridge is being built at that time. All of the other roads in the community remain as they're currently configured.
Very good. Are there any questions from the board in regards to this item? Very good. We go proceed with the public comments.
Leticia Nazo, Larry Lord, Bill Contol.
Thank you for allowing me to speak with all of you today. I am representing Palm Beach Isles Property Owners Association and the residents that live in Palm Beach Isles. The resolution before you today is the final component of a program that began back in 2015. At that time, it was determined that the bridges, there's 3 of them, ingress, egress, and then in the back, like Terrence had said, those bridges were condemned because they were over 70 years old. And at that time, they were crumbling and they needed replaced. In 2017, the council, which a lot of you weren't there at the time, voted unanimously to move forward to safely replace the bridges. Okay? He hired the engineering and the design firms, and now here we are today, 2020. We asked for like, we got like for like. Grand Bahama was the issue. It included eminent domain options, or actually eminent domain, of residents' properties based on that design that was presented. The residents of Palm Beach Isles were so thankful for the proactive efforts of Jonathan Evans, Terrence Bailey, and Julia Botel to actually go back to the table and redesign it so that it was like for like, so that it could just continue and move forward. The complex undertaking to provide a safe and efficient and an infrastructure that's so long overdue is now in progress. We're almost done with it. We're in the final mile. Please, 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 don't delay the vote tonight. We're done. We're almost finished. We want to make sure that this undertaking is going to be completed effectively so that it will last well past all of our years. I've lived there for 25. I'm sure you all have been up in that area before. I know that these bridges need replaced, and we're at the end. Any delay tonight will continue to increase the cost, as Terrence has suggested, and most importantly, the safety of the residents. If you haven't been up there, you really should go up and look at them. Again, please approve. Please vote to approve this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Larry Lulworth, Bill Contole, Dave Brady.
Good evening. My name is Bill Contole. I don't think Mr. Lewick's going to make it tonight. He's at a dinner meeting. I live on Grand Bahama, and I've been on the board of Palm Beach Isles for 30 years. I wonder why, but fortunately, we have come to this point where we can really improve the infrastructure of Riviera Beach that needs to be done. These bridges are 60 years old, and through the efforts of the people working on this, Mr. Evans and Mr. Bailey and all of you, we have moved forward, and now we're on the final step. Unfortunately, we're spending the money we have to extra because we've kicked the can down the road in the past. Now, you've heard that 7 years ago we knew these bridges were falling in, and thankfully they haven't. But of course, they had to bolt pieces of steel on the bridges just to keep them from falling in. So I don't need to go over this again. This has been, we have a fantastic contractor, Frank, who's out there. He's worked with us tremendously and to accommodate our community. And as I said, Mr. Bailey and Mr. Evans, they both have come out there, and along with our council representative and Julia, and she has worked out with things. It's unfortunate what happened with Grand Bahama. The design was not a good design before because of the way it was going to encroach on properties, and now it's fixed. So I really hope that all of you see that this is the project that will improve our city, and I urge you to vote for it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Dave Brady, Allison Brown.
Hi, Council, Mayor, staff, everybody, thanks for being here. They've said everything. I just want to support the council. Terrence has done a wonderful job, and we really thought this was going to be living hell, trying to go in and out one way, and this contractor has done a fantastic job. I urge you just to keep moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Allison Brown.
Good evening, council members, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Evans. I'm the president of the Palm Beach Isles Property Owners Association. I just first wanted to thank the city very much for taking this issue seriously. As Mr. Contole mentioned, this is something that's been ongoing for a really long time, and I'm grateful that the city moved this forward. Obviously, I'm here today to support the additional charges that are being requested. And one issue that has sort of been touched on by Mr. Contole but that I wanted to really emphasize is the great working relationship the city and the Property Owners Association, along with the residents, have had with BCI led by Frank. One of the additional benefits to the city is that our HOA can go directly to Frank with resident concerns and not bother the city as an intermediary with that. And he has been extremely responsive at no additional cost to the city. So I would hate for us to miss an opportunity to continue the project with BCI and then be in a situation where perhaps we're working with someone else who may or may not be as responsive, and then suddenly city employees are burdened with extra issues that at this time the Property Owners Association and Frank and BCI are able to work through together. So thank you to the city, thank you all.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, that concludes public comment on this item.
Very good. Are there any questions from the board in regards to this item? Okay, very good. Madam Clerk?
Councilperson Botel?
Yes.
Councilperson McCoy?
Yes.
Pro Tem Miller Anderson?
Yes.
Chair Lanier?
Yes.
Madam Chair, can you please announce that?
Very good. The outcome of this vote was 4-0 in favor of resolution number 6921.
Go home. Go home.
All right, very good. Thank you. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Thanks for changing the agenda.
Next item is item number 12. A resolution number 7221, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, authorizing a change order to Advanced Modular Structures, Inc. of Pompano Beach, Florida, to upgrade the planned apparatus storage covering in the amount of $190,000, authorizing the city manager to approve change orders up to 10%, authorizing the Director of Finance and Administrative Services to make payment for same from project number 21010 and provide an effective date. Madam Chair, members of the board, we do not have public comment on this item. The acceptance of public comment on this item is now closed.
Move to accept resolution number 7221.
Very good. Madam Clerk? I'm sorry. Mr. Evans.
Madam Chair and members of the board, if I can have the city engineer, Mr. Terrence Bailey, make this presentation.
Thank you. Mr. Bailey?
Again, nothing specific above and beyond in the backup. You will see in your backup there are two versions of the apparatus bay. One is a polyethylene sort of arched dome that was originally proposed by the design build professional. And again, as you know, with design build, the design doesn't harden up until you get halfway sort of into the project. As we moved expeditiously through the site plan process, which we achieved today, it came to light the specifics of that apparatus bay. In consultation with our fire chief, John Curd, we looked at the long-term viability of protecting millions of dollars worth of assets in a structure of that nature, and we felt it prudent, while it is $190,000, the cheap insurance in order to protect the bays and maintain level of service, to upgrade to a fully metal structure. That structure is movable, reusable, and we certainly foresee having that as a long-term asset in our inventory to provide service to the community, not necessarily in this location forever, but in the inventory in whatever form or fashion we see fit going forward after we get a permanent Fire Station 87. And with that, I'll close.
All right, very good. Are there any public comments for this item?
Madam Chair, a public comment card came as I was making the statement that the acceptance of public comments is
Right,
closed.
go ahead.
Dolores Williams.
I'm here again. I would just like to give a compliment. I don't like to criticize people, but Mrs. Charmaine, the man was standing right in my car before you stopped, before he finished. And I'm not trying to be out of order. I'd just like to give a comment, Mr. Bailey. I brought something to his attention about my area and by speeding in the street.
Miss Dolores, you're gonna have to speak on the issue that is on the table. You cannot speak on an issue that is not a part of this item.
Mr. Bailey was talking about, when I tried to get it for 13 to speak on the item about.
I'm sorry to tell you that it has to be on this item.
Mr. Bailey, a compliment and his secretary.
Ma'am,
and for what he's doing
You're
for
gonna,
my city and my
all right,
street.
very good. Thank you so much, ma'am. Are there any questions from the board in regards to this item? All right, very good. Madam Clerk?
Councilperson McCoy?
Yes.
Councilperson Botel?
Yes.
Pro Tem Miller Anderson?
Yes.
Chair Lanier?
Yes. Next item?
Resolution number 70-21, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, authorizing a change order to Randolph Construction Group of Riviera Beach, Florida, to renovate the Riviera Beach Public Library and Empowerment Center's Cafe in the amount of $144,088.33, authorizing the city manager to approve change orders up to 10%, authorizing the Director of Finance and Administrative Services to make payment for same from project number 21010 and providing for an effective date. Madam Chair, members of the board, we do have public comment. The acceptance of public comment is now closed.
Very good. You can go ahead with, I'm sorry, can I get a motion for this item?
Motion to
I'm sorry.
approve Resolution 70-21.
Second.
Very good. Public comment, please.
Mary Bram.
Miss Mary Bram, Riviera Beach. I would like to say for the general public, on July the 3rd, at 11 o'clock a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. will be the grand opening for our new library. And I would just like to thank the staff for moving the goalpost. For the library staff, the youth empowerment staff, and to give you a little feedback, when we say in our reimagine, our greatest asset is our children. And with that cafe, that's what residents will be able to come in and get some coffee and get all of that stuff. And it also teaches our youth and our young people entrepreneurship, the skill set, their work ethic. So we did not forget you in our reimagine. Ms. Brown will never forget you. Mr. Evans will never forget you. The staff, the management, everybody that moved these goalposts, we will not forget you because you are a part of this city. And Ms. Brown will revisit our library now because we are going in a new location and it will have the technology of the 21st century. And it's going to be very interesting from what I was told, so I'm going to make sure that I'm there. And you do not have to have an invitation. Ms. Bram said so. Tell them Ms. Bram said so. I want you all to come out because this is really, really going to be really something. It's going to also be an eye stopper for you too. Trust Ms. Bram. I won't tell you nothing that's not true. So our youth, hats off to you. The library director, hats off to him. And we're going to have, guess what, residents? We're going to have updated technology and books. That's a joy for Ms. Brown because she is a reader, and I've always encouraged everybody else to read as well, and as well as our students and stuff too. So, and Mr. Bailey, I'm going to stay on you. I'm going to keep pushing you because I know that you have some goalposts too. So good job, reimagine. The fire department as well, we are moving, and it's long overdue. So I say kudos to you and everybody else that had a great hand in moving this city and moving our infrastructures forward. All of our infrastructure in this city, our main facilities here, they are deplorable, residents, deplorable. I have never lived or visited a city where it is not one great facility that serves the master population in this city here that is not in deplorable condition. So please come out for Reimagine on the 29th. Yeah, Ms. Bram is pushing it along with everybody else because we do want you and everybody else to be a part. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown.
Madam Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
could I just ask if Mr. Evans would very briefly explain how the Marriott is involved with the cafe? I think it's a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Madam Chair and members,
Yes.
I'll provide a little bit of the presentation, but Mr. Bailey can speak to some of the specific elements as it relates to this change order. So city staff had the opportunity to meet with Roger Amidal, general manager of the Marriott, and we talked about the possibility of fusing a relationship between the Marriott Resorts and the city of Riviera Beach. And so our cafe will actually be an incubator. The folks that work in our cafe, our young folks, will have an opportunity to learn the Marriott way. And so we're so excited about the opportunity to be able to have a full functioning cafe. You can't call it a coffee shop or a snack bar. Do not let Ms. Grimsley hear that. It is a actual full service cafe. And we're going to have young people that will go to trainings. We've also had conversations with the Marriott staff, and they will actually help facilitate certification processes. Our folks going to their food and beverage and hospitality operations, their department directors coming to have meetings in our facility, as well as Career Source is going to have a presence on the campus. We're also going to have representatives and interactions with folks from FAU. We have Marriott Resorts. So this particular facility, as well as our partnership with the county, is going to be a plethora of other agencies that are going to help us really create that experience that you can dive into a book or you can go into a virtual reality room. And we're actually, in addition to that, we're actually partnering up with Loggerhead Marina about not Marina, but Loggerhead, the facility in Juneau, to be able to have some of their virtual reality opportunities for our young folks to participate in. So we're really excited about the facility, and as Ms. Bram stated, the grand opening is the 3rd of July from 11 to 2, and we hope to see everyone there. But this is the last ask of staff to help facilitate the final stages of the cafe.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. That deserves a round of applause. We have been waiting on a new library for a long time, and we're just so happy to be able to be moving forward with it, and especially in the state that it's in, and it is beautiful. Are there any other questions from the board in regards to this item? Mr. Bailey, you want to tell us a little bit more about the change order?
I get the fun part of telling you about moving walls and cutting through the slab. But you can imagine when Ms. Grimsley brought this concept, unfortunately we had already started the construction, but as you can see from the reaction and the potential, no was not an answer. So between the architect, the contractor, we have all worked very diligently and expeditiously to try to bring the facility side of this opportunity to bear and still meet the grand opening next Saturday. So I won't get into the gory details of walls being torn up and slabs and sinks and pipes and, connecting water, sewer, and filters and all of that. This is a substantial cost of a change order, but the opportunity was too great to pass it up, and if we didn't do it now, it would not get done. So with that, that is an update from the facility perspective of the construction items.
Thank you. Any other questions about this item?
Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
I just have a quick comment. I will not be here for the grand opening, and I am so sad, but I expect to have a special tour of that place on July 5th when I get back in town. Thank you.
All right, very good.
Excited.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
I'm not going to be here neither. Me and my son will be at Disney for his birthday.
Oh, nice. How old is he, 6?
Nice.
26.
Oh, that's right, 26. Very good. All right, Madam Clerk.
Councilperson Botel?
Yes.
Councilperson McCoy?
Yes.
Pro Tem Miller Anderson?
Yes.
Chair Lanier?
Yes. Very good. Next item.
Resolution number 52-21, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, accepting the recommendation of staff and authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute continuing services contracts to provide professional marine coastal engineering consulting services with each of the top 3 ranked firms, Diversify Inc. of Delray Beach, Florida, Cummins Cedarburg Inc. of Jupiter, Florida, and Edgewater Resources LLC of Pompano Beach, Florida, commencing June 3rd, 2021, and ending June 2nd, 2024, with renewal options for 2 additional 12-month periods, authorizing the finance director to make payments from the appropriate operating accounts and provide an effective date. Madam Chair, members of the board, we do have public comment on this item. The acceptance of public comment on this item is now closed.
Motion to approve Resolution 5221.
Second.
Public comment, Madam Clerk?
Dolores Williams.
Yes, ma'am.
To the mayor, he's left. I would like to thank Mr. Sherman for y'all extending and paying all these people here. But I want to say one thing, and don't cut me off. Mr. McCoy.
If you
I
are
would
not
like to
talking
give
about
you
the item that is
compliment
on the
that
agenda,
whatever
Ms.
agenda
Dolores,
and articles being
we
used
keep
for
having
the
this
agenda
conversation.
So I'd just like to thank Mr. Sherman for paying. Did you say this what I had to talk about? Mr. Sherman paying.
You are out of order, ma'am. Could I have someone come remove this young lady from the podium,
Did you
please?
say for me to speak on 15, the comments here, on item 15?
You are speaking on item number 15.
Yes, that's
Yes,
when I
ma'am,
signed
and
up
you're
for
talking about continuing services contract to provide
Yes.
professional marine coastal engineering consulting services.
Sherman for that, and also thank Mr. McCoy for being alert to know what the audience, what the city and the state of Florida.
All right, thank you so much, Ms. Dolores. Thank you. All right, very good. So can we get back to any discussions, or do we have a presentation about this item, Mr. Evans?
Madam Chair and members of the board, Director of Finance, Mr. Randy Sherman, is prepared to answer any questions the board may have. But this is a continuing service agreement that actually provides for engineering services for the completion of and the review of the expansion of our docks at our municipal marina. So this is just a continuing services contract.
Very good.
Madam Chair.
If there are any questions, I'll take them.
I have a request.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. You know, we have a marine tech program, a very robust, well-oiled machine over there at Inlet Grove in their marine tech program. And I'm just wondering if we couldn't maybe convince the Cummins Cedarburg and the other for Edgewater Associates to maybe make some pro bono presentations to the marine tech classes over at Inlet Grove, because, you know, those kids are learning how to repair diesel engines, but I think they should also be exposed to what it means to be a marine engineer and have that kind of a vision for them. So if we can work with those firms to make that happen, it would be wonderful.
Excellent idea.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead, sir.
Mr. Sherman, these funds, I guess when we do see them again, do you foresee that it will come back to us because they exceed, I guess, the regular threshold level of administration, like these specific contracts?
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing your question.
Okay, so these continuing contracts for these 2 or 3 firms, will they come back to us if they exceed that threshold level?
Yes, I mean, the dollars for these contracts are in the CIP, and those will come back to you.
Okay, and that's actually, that was my next question. So it's in the capital improvement plan, but not inside of the actual operating plan of the, I guess, the marina budget, I guess the Marina Enterprise Fund that we set aside, right?
Correct. Correct. It's in the capital.
I guess help me understand, the design in itself is not something that can be considered operational?
No, because the design goes along with the project. We actually add the design cost to the capital asset. So they go hand in hand.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Thank you.
All right, very good. Thank you. Are there any other questions about this item? Madam Clerk?
Councilperson Botel?
Yes.
Councilperson McCoy?
Yes.
Pro Tem Miller Anderson?
Yes.
Chair Lanier?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next
Madam
item.
Chair, would you like for me to announce the vote?
Oh, I'm sorry, I keep forgetting that. That motion was approved, 4-0, in favor of this item. In favor of resolution number 5221.
Madam Chair, members of the board, we're now down to item number 17. Resolution number 22-21, a resolution of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, adopting special event fees and providing for an effective date. Madam Chair, members of the board, we do not have public comment on this item. The acceptance of public comment on this item is now closed.
Thank you. No public comments, you said?
No public comments. I have no card.
Very good. Go ahead, Mr. Noel.
Madam Chair, members of the board, if I can have Assistant to the City Manager, Ms. Marcia Noel, make this presentation.
All right, thank you, Mr. Evans. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mayor, Chair, City Council members. So today I have the pleasure to present to you the special event fees for our special event permitting process. As you know, city staff has been working since late last year to produce a improved version of the special event permitting process. So we've done a couple of presentations about this. Today we're hoping to move forward with a resolution approving special event fees so that we can implement this new program we've been working on. All right, just a bit of background. Back in September, I was able to bring before you 4 new special event fees that are provided for in the new ordinance, Ordinance 4161. Those fees are the appeal fee, rush or priority fee, date change fee, and cancellation fee. But during our discussion, there was a concern regarding the existing fees that we're currently charging and whether or not if they were actually approved through resolution by any past council boards. And so city staff went back, did some research, and came to the determination that currently there is no record of a resolution that approves the existing fees. So apparently the cart was put before the horse, so to speak, and we're trying to correct that by bringing forward a resolution that encompasses both the 4 new fees that I've presented and in addition to all the current or existing fees. Just a bit of a refresher on what those 4 fees are. I understand we have individuals who are probably seeing this for the first time, but we have the appeal fee, which is going to be at 3% of the security deposit. The appeal fee is charged when someone's application is denied because they did not meet the application requirement, or it's revoked due to violation of the city policy. Then we have the rush or priority fee, which is 3% of the security deposit. So in the instance of an applicant who may wish to apply past the deadline, if approved by the city manager, city staff will move forward to process their application, but we're doing so at a 3% of the security deposit. Thirdly, we have the date change fee. This particular fee is charged when the applicant decides to change the date after it's already been approved, and that's at $100. And then lastly, we have the cancellation fee, kind of broken into 3 parts. The first, 100% refund is provided to the applicant if their request is received 50 to 60 days before the event. We have 50% for requests received 45 days before the event. And then lastly, there's no refund for cancellations within 45 days of the event. I'm just going to briefly go over the fees. I won't get too granular, but I understand that you do also have these fees listed in the resolution in detail. So the first category is the general fees. This is where the 4 new fees will be included alongside the special event application, the security deposit, and the cleaning fee. Next, we have the fire department fees. This basically consists of personnel costs, so the hourly rate for fire personnel in addition to their trucks or vehicles, and in addition to an administrative fee. And as you can see, there is a table just below the first table, which states minimum number of required fire personnel to provide service. So in the manual, we will be including all of these fees because we understand the importance of the applicant understanding the potential costs associated with their special event if they choose to apply for the permit. And it was also, I think, at the request of Councilman Lawson that we have something like this up there because it could better assist the applicant as well. The only thing is we'll make sure to note that that the minimum number of required personnel may be subject to change depending on the circumstances. Next, we have the police department fees, same as the fire department fees, just really the hourly rate for personnel cost and the administrative fee. And then also the minimum number of required police officers to provide security. And then lastly, we have the parks facility rental and staffing fees, all there listed as you see in your resolution. And then lastly, our next step is to launch this program. We hope to launch it next week. We've been working diligently to put this program together and have it ready for publishing, have it on our website, post it to our different communication platforms, and to also update applicants who may be looking to apply for a permit this year or what have you, just so everyone's on the same page. So at this time, if there's any questions, feel free to ask. I also have members of our special event permitting committee here as well to assist.
Thank you for that presentation, Noel. Mr. McCoy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Noel, the manual, Special Events Policy and Procedural Manual, you said you're looking to create one. What's the timeline on that?
Oh, no, it's already created. So staff has been working on developing the manual. And at this point, we're very much close to publishing it, but we can't really publish it without the fees.
I'm back at what we were the last time. So you have in here the whereas clause says, whereas it is the city's intent to provide a special event policy and procedures manual in accordance with the newly amended special events ordinance. And this goes on to say the special events policy and procedure manual will contain the fee schedule associated with the special event permitting process. Is this manual going to be something that's going to be approved by this board by resolution?
No, because it's an operational manual, oftentimes that's something that's developed in-house by staff, which is what we've been doing since we started this process. And we indicated in a previous presentation, basically the topics covered in the manual. I presented the table of contents. And if you wish, I can list to you what those topics are, but the document goes into detail. This is a 16-page document that we've worked to put together.
Follow up, Madam Chair.
Yes.
I just am concerned that we always kind of go in reverse order with this. Similar to the CRA, we actually approved the manual for the Riviera Beach Event Center by resolution of the CRA board. And now we're being asked to authorize the fees. And I just really think we need to have fees. I don't have a problem with doing it, but I don't want to say it's okay to do a fee and then mysteriously there's some components that nobody on the board knew about that was in the manual. And I'm telling you, it seems like, and I said this to the auditor, we first responders in some respects, because when something doesn't go right with a special event, they don't call back the Parks and Rec. They call us, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know the first thing about it. So I think, just as a courtesy, I want to know exactly what that manual consists of, because there should be some parity as to what we do. And I mean, even if we started the conversation tonight about potentially taking back, the management of this under the city, I mean, we authorize the event center's manual. The manual also encompasses the fees. And I know that specifically because I had to review it when booking an event, but to approve fees without knowing exactly what's in the manual seems to be, in my opinion, in reverse order.
I understand, and if it's, the pleasure of the board, I can always bring the document to you individually to go through, but I will say this, if we have to bring the manual to the council for approval, anytime we have to make any change, even as minor as a minor change, it would have to go before the board at a meeting. And so that could delay the process for future revisions or updates taking place quite efficiently.
Follow up.
Go ahead.
Well, here's the thing. I don't necessarily think that, we're going to try to create more bureaucracy by making it approved, but certainly so we can have an understanding of what is encompassed in the manual. Because I know we've seen this at least 3 times. The cross-connection manual, there was an ordinance that authorized us to do it, but nobody had never seen the manual. And I'm saying to myself, show us the benefit of having to know exactly what these fees are going to be published in a manual that is driven by a manual, that's driven by the policy. So I kind of want to know what that is. And I certainly would appreciate having a manual, because I can tell you I've had to call Mr. B and even administration when I see things that don't exactly seem consistent with how we run our programs, because, you know, maybe there hasn't been, you know, exact, you know, regulations over certain things, but that's just my opinion. And I don't want to make it that we have to approve it. I just want to know what it is before I agree to vote on something.
Very good.
Madam Chair, if I may?
Yes, go ahead.
With regards to the manual, realistically, it is almost like an SOP, standard operating procedures, which each department, especially public safety, has SOPs as well as general orders. And so this is going to prescribe the process that a person has to go through as it relates to the special event process. The fees are the component that the board legislatively is going to authorize. And, you know, to Councilperson McCoy's point, yeah, we would never think in 2021 that we have never adopted a resolution that incorporates the fees. So in some cases, we're doing a lot of cleanup. So the fees will be inserted in the manual, and the intent behind the manual is for a staff person to grab that manual and actually know what the process is they have to follow for the purposes of a special event, or when it outlines when is it necessary to pay the modified amount because of X, Y, and Z. So it is really a guideline or a tool that is utilized, and a process that someone would look at for how they would go ahead and schedule an event. So I don't think there's any policy component associated with that. It is a tool that, you know, if someone wants to have a special event, this will say, okay, how much time is allotted for them to go ahead and put their application in, the cost associated with it, and the approval process. So we can definitely share that to the board, but it is really a mechanism that staff would utilize, that if anyone picks it up, they should be able to follow the process as outlined.
Yes, go ahead.
That's fair, Mr. Evans, and I'm okay with you guys sharing it with us. But, you know, I guess the last slide said this fee schedule is rolling out on the 28th of this month. You know, when can we expect to know when the manual is going to be published? That's kind of, you know, what I was looking at. So, so long as it's published and it's readily available, then, you know, I guess I'm okay with that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Are there any other questions for? Go ahead.
Did we make a motion?
We need to make a motion for this item.
Move that we approve Resolution 22-21.
Second.
Very good. Madam Clerk?
Councilperson McCoy?
Yes.
Councilperson Botel?
Yes.
Pro Tem Miller Anderson?
Yes.
Chair Lanier?
Yes. The vote for Resolution 22-21 has been approved unanimously 4-0. Next item?
Next item is item number 18, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute the agreement with Extra Duty Solutions for the administration of extra duty details, approving extra duty detail rates and fees, and providing an effective date. Madam Chair, members of the board, we do not have any public comments on this item. The acceptance of public comments on this item is now closed.
Move to approve Resolution 68-21.
Second.
Thank you. No public comments?
No public comments, Madam Chair.
All right, very good. Mr. Evans?
Madam Chair, members of the board, this item before you this evening is to move forward with the execution of an agreement between Extra Duty Solutions and the City of Riviera Beach. This allows for an automated process as it relates to our off-duty details. The particular process that the city has in place has been mentioned as a concern from the external auditor, and so this allows for us to resolve that particular issue and makes the transaction between a prospective entity that would be utilizing law enforcement services a lot more seamless, and actually allow for better cash management and cash handling and payment of the officers in a much quicker fashion. So staff recommends approval of the item that's before you this evening, and Chief Osgood's here to answer any questions the board may have operationally.
Very good. Are there any questions for Chief Osgood in regards to this item?
So extra duty solutions, never mind.
Madam Clerk.
But Madam Chair, let me say this. So,
Go ahead.
I utilized extra duty one time, and I was so surprised that I had to write a personal check directly to the police officer. I was like, wow, that was unusual. I mean, so I certainly support it because I thought that was definitely something that was unusual. But I'm glad that we're streamlining this and making it a more efficient and uniform process. Thanks. And actually, one other question. How much is it to get extra duty for the police chief to appear at an event?
Those are free. Those you get an officer, you get the chief free.
Just a phone call.
Buy one, get one free. All right, very good.
Right.
Madam Clerk.
Councilperson McCoy?
Yes.
Councilperson Botel is out.
She's here. To approve this item.
Councilperson Botel?
Yes.
Pro Tem Miller Anderson?
Yes.
Chair Lanier?
Yes. All right, very good. We are at the end of our agenda, and let us get our comments from the city manager, please.
Yes, Madam Chair. The Reimagine Riviera Beach sessions have been going extremely well. We're getting about 50 persons every evening that are participating with us well into the late hours of the evening. I believe on Tuesday we got out around 8:46. So it's been a very interactive, very collegial group and a lot of good ideas and concepts. So we're looking to bring that information that has been obtained as a result of that workshop to the board for some discussions and some decisions that we would be asking the board to make, and then bringing it back to subsequent community meetings as it relates to the capital improvements projects as we move forward. For those folks that are interested in the budget process, we have another budget meeting that is scheduled for the 10th of July. That's going to be our all-day retreat, whereby we're going to have the first part of it is a visioning part where the board is going to look at their Riviera Beach 2030 and see if there's any tweaks and modifications to that particular vision, and then go into some nuances associated with the budget. So staff is working on the material, and we will send that out to the board shortly. Madam Chair, that concludes my remarks for this evening.
Very good. City Attorney?
No comments, Madam Chair. Thank you.
City Council Committee reports. We'll start with Mr. McCoy for your statements, please.
Madam Chair.
Very good. Councilwoman Botel?
Yes, I attended the Palm Beach County Housing Steering Committee meeting, the League of Cities Board of Directors meeting, and today's regular meeting, and the Florida League of Cities Land Use and Economic Development Legislative Committee.
Thank you.
Camilla
Harris, please. Camilla.
Yes, I will go. I attended the Palm Beach County League of Cities meeting today as well, and a couple of weeks ago, I believe, in Botel, before we went to the Florida League of Cities committee meetings, I serve on the Utilities, Natural Resource, and Public Works Committee. I actually felt that probably Dr. Botel should be on that because they talk a lot about the intercoastal, a lot of the waterway stuff, so I figured that was something she would love to be on, but I'm the new person that's on it now. A lot of these legislative session actually addressed a lot of the utility issues that, not utility issues, but they put a lot of money behind it.
Excuse me, we have a commissioner speaking, and I can hardly hear her from the background noise here.
And so this year, the focus is a little different. Talking about electric vehicles and some of the things that are not really, a priority for us in our city, but, we're comprised of close to 50 people throughout the state. So it's based on the majority at this point, but it's a pretty interesting board. I've typically been on the Transportation and Intergovernmental Relations Committee, but it typically changes every year. So I'm learning something new. And that's it for me for committees.
All right, very good. So we'll start with you for your comments. Mr. McCoy?
Yeah, I tried to log into the general membership meeting today, Dr. Botel, and I couldn't get in.
Yeah, it was.
It took them a little while to get their act together.
Yeah, well, I had abandoned ship because I was like, well, thank you for standing in. I have nothing, Madam Chair.
All right, very good. Commissioner Botel?
Yes, thank you. Just a couple of things. The Singer Island Community Garden grand opening went very well. Please contact jbdixon@me.com if you'd like to rent a bed. Thank you to Cedric Clark for sending Snowy and another worker to help us trim the palm trees to make the place look beautiful. On Sunday, June 13th, from 2 to 5 at the Ocean Walk Mall, we had our celebration of World Oceans Day. We got a little rained out, but we're already starting to plan for next year. We're also planning a job fair. Oh, I have the wrong date here. July 7th, I think it is, for a variety of positions. You know what? I'm sorry. Let me go to my. I'm in the wrong Word document. Please forgive me. Well, anyway, job fair, July 7th. The next thing is hundreds of paddle boarders are getting ready for the 2021 crossing for cystic fibrosis. They actually paddle from Bimini to Lake Worth Beach, and 2 of our residents will be making the crossing, Adam and Jackie Miller of Yacht Harbor Estates. It's an 18-hour fundraiser covering 80 nautical miles overnight. I can't imagine being in the middle of the water overnight on a paddleboard, but they're doing it. They've raised over $1 million for cystic fibrosis. And so this year's crossing will take place on Sunday, the 27th at midnight, and it takes 13 to 18 hours. And if you're interested in supporting this, they have a website, www.pipersangels.org. I also attended the opening of the Diabetes Coalition office on MLK, and the groundbreaking ceremony for the first solar home in Riviera Beach in Miss Lanier's district. It was very exciting to see a new, totally solar home going up in Riviera Beach by a Riviera Beach company. During our last regular USD meeting earlier this evening, I forgot to include in my comments that I'd like to see the staff bring forward the USD charter for review during our subsequent workshops that are to come before us in the near future. There are several recommendations I'd like to bring before the USD board for discussion and possible amendments, so I hope, Mr. Evans, we can bring that before the USD meeting. I'd also want to announce that we're having, here's the job fair, July 5th, with industry sectors including hospitality, manufacturing, logistics, and transportation, marine. So that's July 5th. And just another reminder, yet another reminder, next Tuesday, I've attended all 3 of the sessions of Reimagine Riviera Beach, and I'm going to miss the one next Tuesday, and it's the one they're talking about finance. So it's going to be really important that we get a lot of people at that meeting. It's on Tuesday at Wells. It starts at 6 o'clock. They will feed you a very nice dinner if you go. Please come out and join that session. It's really, really important that we get a lot of community involvement. Last thing, on my council person Facebook page, I posted a community update, and I would encourage all residents to take a look at it and to share it. Thanks very much.
Thank you. I just have a couple of quick things. I wanted to say that the Ms. Kelly, Ms. Mitchell from Juneteenth of Palm Beach County, the Juneteenth hosted here at Riviera Beach was excellent. It was very well attended. It was very successful, and we look forward to working with that group again in the future. This Friday, 7 p.m. at the Brooks Center, 594 4th Street, we will have an opening for the Hope Dealers Riviera Beach Edition. They are a group of individuals who mentor young men in terms of keeping them off the street and keeping them from jail. So we want to be able to welcome the Riviera Beach Edition of the Hope Dealers to this city. Our community gardens is sprouting. It is growing so fast. It is unbelievable how the community gardens, it even has food has been delivered. I mean, there's food coming out of the ground now. So that is something that really, really impresses me. And the way that garden has grown so fast is the way I want the city of Riviera Beach to grow. So thank you so much for that. And also the new library happening on July 3rd. And a shout out to the solar home that we put together over on 7th Street in Riviera Beach. And that, folks,
No. I didn't go, and Mayor didn't go.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was gonna clap.
I was wondering. After that, so she's wrapping up. Let me grab this mic. No, I just have one thing, Mr. Evans, if you could mention about the East 24th and East 22nd Street meeting rescheduled for tomorrow.
Yes, we have a meeting tomorrow evening here. I believe the meeting starts at 6 o'clock to talk about some of the improvements related to 22nd and 24th Street. Staff has been having numerous meetings with community members out in the community. But we're going to share with them some concepts and some ideas to address some of the concerns that they have, and then ultimately bring that back to the board for consideration.
Thank you.
All right, very good. I'm sorry, go ahead, Mayor. I should have went with you first, but.
Thank you, Madam Chair, you good.
Trust me, I did not do it intentionally, and we certainly want to hear from you.
It's your second time, this your second time. Yeah, sitting next to me. Saturday, June 26th, we're going to be hosting a seniors luncheon at Jay's Ministry. Free food, games, entertainment, raffles. We have some great prizes that we're going to be giving away. Also, I'm working with the North Chamber of Commerce, who has vowed to give some of our local startup businesses scholarships. So I'm very excited about that. So we're going to be looking at some of our small businesses to get them acclimated into the North Chamber of Commerce. That's it for me.
All right, very good. Thank you so much for your attendance tonight, and we are adjourned.
Sure, you gonna keep.
Now, you know what? I see all this seeing you right now.
Conspiracy.